is our map for this series. How about to bring these things up? We got best of 3 as always. 7-map pool. Ban, pick, ban, decider. Which one will it be? Club Coast eliminated first. Walk us through it, Jesse.
That makes a lot of sense. Clubhouse being banned out by DarkZero. It's a super strong map from Na'Vi. They're on a 3-game win streak there. DZ already lost this map in groups, so not wanting to test that again. And then Coastline, I think, also makes sense. I felt like Na'Vi maybe had a couple of options for their bans. So it was interesting to see where they were going to go. Could have been a Villa or maybe a Bank, but Coast, I think, is certainly a strong ban for them as well, taking it off the field, making sure that they can't play that against the DZ boys. So we'll see what comes through for the pick. As I mentioned, there are some options for Bank potentially or Villa for the pick of DarkZero when it comes on up. Jacob, any thoughts? Any expectations? There's the Bank.
There we go. Yeah, no, I was waiting on that one. They played it one time in the group stage. They've yet to lose it. Both teams, actually, in this case, were some of the only ones who actually played every single map over the course of the group stage, rather than like selecting only 2 or 3 to kind of take out and maybe save for later. So Bank and Oregon, honestly, I do think make a lot of sense. It's one that, if memory serves, Na'Vi and DarkZero both have won successfully so far. Oregon is one we also do see a pretty fair amount in North American League play, so I like the pick there. And then we head to Kafe. What are your thoughts on Decider?
So Kafe for DarkZero is an interesting one. They hadn't won it since stage 1, but they brought it 3 times throughout the groups, and they did pretty well. They lost to Elevate, but they beat both BDS and Furia, so it's one they've turned around for this event. For Na'Vi, Kafe's been a rough one recently. 3-game losing streak, most recently picking it and falling to Team 1 in groups, 7-3. So if we get to that map, I think DarkZero may have the edge, but these first couple, I think certainly Na'Vi can come and play.
What are things then that both of these teams kind of show as their weaknesses that have to be worked on very quickly in this game, Jacob?
I mean, for Na'Vi, it's more, you can't rely on Doki for everything. As much impact as he can create, sometimes the rest of the team just has a really inconsistent time following that up. If he finds a couple of entry kills, the rest of the team needs to be able to move in, acquire said map control, and use it to their advantage. You can't have just one player being the guy to find those kills. Everyone else is still finding them in the mid-round, but that early round impact, sometimes, if it comes from Doki, the rest of the team has to follow through.
For DarkZero, I mean, we talked about the roam already. I think that's the main thing that needs to be improved from them. If they can get more of those bodies out there in the early round, get more of those trades, I think they can really be on a path to success. The other thing maybe is getting that conversion rate up a little bit. Currently not doing so hot in that stat. About average, but at this stage in the tournament, you got to be punching a little more above your weight class. And currently DarkZero not converting the most amount of rounds, only 69% of them.
Nice.
Which might be nice, but it's not great for your actual
it's just nice.
Win percentage.
It's just nice, Jesse.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
I think 73, 74, 75% would be a little nicer.
What was the stat again?
69.
Okay, all right. Hey, let's cool it down. Remember, though,
nice.
that Doki said in an interview that if he were to win the tournament, he would buy up the pub down the road, which is an incredibly English thing.
Wow.
Well, Scottish. I didn't say English. Nobody heard that.
Do Scottish pubs just not cost that much?
Wow.
I don't know.
They make a lot of money from this event, Jacob.
In Edinburgh, you know, like, I really need to look.
What do they make from something like this? What, 35K? I don't even remember what you get if your first team not, or one of the first teams knocked out.
If you're the #1 team that wins the event, that's 1 million smackaroos.
Yeah, Jacob.
True. No,
that's US dollars, not Canadian ones. That's a lot.
True.
We count Canadian shekels as currency?
Well, some places we do.
Well.
Oh, boy. All right, Doki.
You live out west, so.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, did what? Blur just rejected his hug. Oh, and Doki's down bad. It's just the day after Valentine's Day. What are you going to do, man?
I mean, listen, if Na'Vi are going to go buy the pub, DarkZero likely to buy another casino, I would guess, out in Vegas.
A very American thing.
I think they already got Resort World logged in. Maybe they can get another one out there in Vegas. We'll see.
Who knows? Well, a lot on the line for this matchup. Like we said, these games that we have, this one and the one after for Elevate Rogue, you snooze, you lose, you're out of the tournament. No 2 ways around it. Only 55K if you win. You want to go for the big smackaroos, the big bags at the end of it, though. Jesse, Jacob, thank you very much. Let's get ready for this matchup, but we have Elevate Rogue. Let's talk about that with our own Jays on the other side. Let's bring them up.
My dream job when I was a kid, it was work as a scientist.
I actually first wanted to be like pilot. Then I was colorblind, so that was like out the window, you know, like unless I wanted to crash the plane.
Quando era criança eu tinha bastante vontade de ser policial.
I was not made for just stay inside and reading biology books.
I was studying sports therapy at university. Classic UK kid. I wanted to be a footballer, but that never worked out, sadly. If you call it soccer, you're not a football fan. So
I always wanted to work in the bank because like I was good with numbers.
I tried to study a little bit to become a doctor, but that wasn't what I really wanted. So the opportunity came to play Rainbow Six competitive, and here I am.
Quando eu era criança, eu tinha sonho de ser bombeiro, né?
I want to be Legolas from the Lord of the Rings. Very strong guy with the bow going like insane guy.
Anything related with like video games, computers, like that was always my thing, you know.
In high school, and I saw all these players like traveling the world, and I told to my mom like I'm gonna actually travel the world and playing games, and she was like yeah okay, but I managed to do it, so I'm just enjoying this.
My mom would always tell me that there was this period of time when I was really young, my head was so big that I would literally be like lopsided like towards like the areas, you know.
When I was a child, I had the dream to be like an archaeologist. I loved like history, but like when I grew up, that dream like just vanished. Like
my first dream is to reach the SI world stage, and then I can't do it now.
Growing up, I was heavily invested into getting into YouTube influencer content creation.
어렸을 때 약간 요리사를 꿈꿨던 적도 있었는데
professional gaming kind of came to me like early high school.
My family's great. They're very supportive of all of it. They love it. They watch all my games.
My dad and my mom always supported me. My dad played video games too since he was a child, so I got it from him.
They were terrified at first, just because like moving to Vegas, just turned 18.
They were really confused because when I said I wanted to be a pro, they didn't really know exactly what it was until I brought my dad to Invite 2019, and he realized it was a big deal.
They learned to be supportive, and they're huge fans of it now.
They would accept it, but now they're like, what's that check looking like?
I think they were more scared about if I'm going to be paying rent or not. I think that was the first thing.
It was something that I always like thought in my, like I can maybe live playing video games, you know.
My mom always supports me no matter what. She's my #1 fan, so love you, Mom.
They trust me, so yeah, I think as long as I'm happy what I'm doing, they're happy.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Six Invitational 2022. We're live, as always, from Stockholm, Sweden. And it's not as sunny, but it's not as gray as you would think. It's just full of love, is what we have on here. We'll see how it goes in the server itself. I'm also the Medic, your host. With me are the double J's. We got Jack and Jess.
I wish my name was Jill, so it'd be Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill. Honestly, I'm thinking about changing my name at this point. Yeah.
Just for you. What would you change your name to if you had to coordinate with her?
Jesse would be good. Jess and Jesse.
It's
just a bit mouthful to say, yeah.
I have worked with Jesse before, Jesse from North America, and it was Jess, Brohard, Jesse, and then Jess, and we had the Jesk.
Yes.
And it was the most confusing desk I've ever worked in my entire life.
You mean that's what most confusing Jesk.
Jesk. We called it the Jesk.
Yes.
Like we have the mesh here. Yeah, it was so confusing. So never again. So keep Jack. Love Jack. I'll keep Jess.
Yep.
You keep the most beautiful man alive, and then we're all good.
Who are you talking to? My name doesn't fit with any of this. I mean, technically it's Hassan, but you would have to butcher my name. That's why I don't use it, because it's easier to say Milosh. My mom is like the only one other than my partner that doesn't call me that. But personal stories aside, here we are to talk about the personal stories of some of our players in this game. Elevate versus Rogue. A big hope for APAC South here in Elevate, the only team from the region, and Rogue, one of the last remaining from Europe, of course, with UK Massa player on it, Leon Gids. You got to show up in this. Let's talk about Rogue and what they have in store for us. Our resident UK fan, but also our resident EU person here, Jack.
You talk about the resident UK massive in Leon Gids. I actually had a little conversation with him, and he was saying that Rogue, obviously they've not turned up. They came through in 4th place. They scraped through what was the group of death. they played against Liquid, they played against FaZe, they played against SSG. They lost all of them. They managed to come through on a 2-0 win against Cyclops. What was interesting about that is actually Leon was saying, we've deviated from our style that got us here in the first place.
Correct.
They used to play this really aggressive one support, 4 frag kind of meta game that we're seeing come out of LATAM. And they've got here and they've gone back to kind of default EU Siege. And we've seen the result of that coming out. And their confidence has just taken a hit. They're doing things in officials that they wouldn't do in scrims, or they've been doing things in scrims that they're not doing in officials, and that's what we're seeing coming out of them. There's only one player on their roster that's actually positive in KD, and that's Aces.
Yeah, I mean, Ace has been one of the big gunners that I've been following his career for years and years and years. It's just a player that I've loved dearly for his mechanical skills specifically. I think that's really something important to highlight for the viewers. A lot of these viewers aren't going to know the intricacies of Rogue and really what got them here. And they started a brand new sort of philosophy of Siege in that if you can get into the map and into sight as quickly as possible with the least resistance as possible, we will do so. We won't fluff around trying to get all this map control and everything.
To watch.
It's incredible Siege to watch. This is what they did in EUL. Go back, watch their stage 3 games inside of EUL. It was exciting, it was explosive, and it's Siege we wanted to see because we hadn't seen it before in EUL, which was very technical, slow, very philosophically plant-based. But I tell you what, they can learn from this team on your screen right now. This is the team that brings explosiveness.
These are meat-based, not plant-based.
I'm not sure what that reference means, but I'm going to try
sauce all over. Elevate, they're in here. They're still in the tournament and they're running well. And you got to talk about Elevate last night, talk about the APAC region in general. Jess, today, what can they show? They're on their last leg, much like Rogue.
A lot of these players were hailing from a bunch of different teams in their region. Remember back in APAC North, you weren't there just yet, Jack, but you and I were there, Milosh, watching the likes of DCH clutch on Kaid, for example. We saw Nerix and I believe Sapper were from the academy team of Elevate who moved up and took positions there. Onigiri was always the lovely little bright light of the interviews that we had there. And Napier was a scary force. Always been that scary force that doesn't really second guess himself. He moves in very quickly. He makes decisions very quickly. And he's scary mechanically. So that's what we've seen from them thus far. Yes, okay, maybe they're what I think Super called it yesterday in the interview. Said, it is the most confusing playstyle I have ever had to play up against. Even more, they were much more fearful of Elevate than they were down one Kia. And if a big brains man like Super says that, you best believe it.
And that's what makes them so dangerous, is just enhanced on that. When a guy that's, Super, he's not known for his gun skill. He's known for his strategic mind.
Yes.
He knows how to read teams. When he's saying we cannot read these teams, it makes them so dangerous. And if Rogue go back to that similar kind of playstyle, we're going to see two teams lock heads that can be very erratic, very spontaneous, very fast in their pacing, and it's going to make for a great spectacle.
It is like two bullets hitting head to head. It was like if you shot two pistols head to head at each other, that is the two teams. If Rogue do not come in nervous, it will be this explosive battle. It's like samurais when the samurai swords hit and it makes that sound.
Oh,
that is going to be, that is going to be these two teams today.
I'm very much looking forward. And you say two bullets head to head. Well, we got two players head to head. Perfect segue through it. Let's put them up on the screen. We got one from each teams as we're always ready for it. Prano and Nerix. We talked about Prano a lot in EUL. What are we to look at in this case?
I really want to highlight Prano because there was a lot of plants in stage 3 for EUL. We said that they like to rush in, get the plant down, play post plant in the first minute, which is very unorthodox. He's been able to get quite a few plants here. He's in the top 3 planters in the entire tournament right now, which is very impressive for a team that has been losing a majority of their maps. So he's been doing very well in his role there. He also has the highest survival rate. And if you look at the top rated player on the right hand side of your screen there in Nerix, he's been playing completely different roles on attack and defense, which is very Elevate-esque, of course, but he is being able to put up the numbers. His opening kills have been pretty, on point. I think the biggest talking point here is that Nerix has been the dark horse for them. He just gets the job done while everyone else tries to be a bit more flashy, and it's like Prano in a way.
Yeah, they're both kind of industrious within the team.
That's a good
Especially
word.
for Elevate, we're expecting DCH maybe a little bit more to step up. It's been Nerix, and it's nice to have that kind of strength and depth. One thing I noted about Elevate is they've all got really high survival rate percentages individually.
I mean, it helps when you're smashing everyone.
Exactly, so that's what that tells me, is when they're winning the round, they're not coming down to 1v1s. They're winning them with like 3-4 players alive. They're absolutely smashing through people.
That's probably the best thing to talk about when we talk about SRV survival rate, is when we're talking about high rates across the board.
Yep.
It just means so many people are staying alive.
Now, it's cool to see the smile on both of these teams. Maybe there are some special maps that we have ready. Usually Onigiri's sending this to Jess, so...
Don't highlight it,
hey, come on. I watched all the content. Here we are. Chalet and Coastline are banned first. Jack, and he takes us through it.
Rogue banning Chalet is always an interesting one, because in Stage 3, Chalet was their map. They loved it. It was their #1 preference map. However, they come into this tournament, and it's like their number 7. They've had a real change of heart on that map. Coastline getting away from Elevate, it's not a surprise. It's Rogue's favourite map, so I would ban that away as well.
I mean, Rogue hasn't had very good recent success on that map, and of course we saw the fact that when we had the APAC quals, the only time that Elevate played Coastline, they lost it 7-1. They got smashed on it. So recent performance on Coastline, not so good, but a Kafe coming in, are we surprised? No.
Both teams have picked comfort maps for themselves, but also their opponents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a map that both teams will feel good on in terms of Kafe and Clubhouse. Going through to the decider of Oregon, it's a mid map for Rogue. It's the top preference map for Elevate. They want to play Oregon as much as they possibly can.
Oh no, Milosh, if this goes to a third map, Rogue might struggle. That third map, I feel, is going to be the kicker there.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think it suits Elevate better than Rogue. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Especially play styles. When you're going like really head-to-head that way, my God, that is going to be chaotic.
All right. Well, we got a lot of chaos and a lot of survival on the line. Thanks so much, Jack and Jess. Navi, DarkZero, Elevate, Rogue. Let's get them started. Good luck. Have fun.
Welcome to the A stream. Now, I know you're all tuning in today for mine and Ace's intro. Unfortunately, we were a little bit low on ideas today, Tim, but today has been a screamer so far.
It has, Des. We've had some big results. You know, NIP, M&M coming up a little short.
It's not been so good for them, has it? 2 teams already going home. Now, also worth mentioning, Jess was looking really, really tall on that desk over there a minute ago. She must have poached some boxes from somewhere. No idea where from.
Not a clue, Des.
Welcome back to the A stream. That one is a freebie. Let's get into this game though, Tim. Navi versus DarkZero. We saw this one on the fixture sheet and we just knew something special was coming from this. DarkZero have looked better the longer the tournament has gone on. Navi also feels have woken up as we've gotten into things a little bit more. So I'm finding this game really hard to predict.
I'm a little bit concerned for DarkZero after seeing the map bans, if I'm honest. I think that we've seen Navi have some good performances on Bank. We've seen them have some not so good ones as well. But I just think back to the start of Stage 3 when they played G2. I think they probably caught G2 on a little bit of an off day, as many teams did. But I think Navi just looked like they were really fluid on that map. They were roaming a lot. They were difficult to close down. Whereas from the North American teams that we've seen on Bank so far, there's been a couple of questions that I've had. So we'll see how it plays out. The fact that it's DarkZero's choice, they've obviously got something up the sleeve. They're ready to go there. They prepped. But for me, I think I like the maps for Navi here today.
I do as well. I think Bank is one of those that you look at and just say around the world we've seen a good mix in terms of capability on the map, in terms of strats being used is the most exciting part. You get a real nice blend of different ideas being brought by each of the regions. But ideas aside, all that matters is who reaches that 7-round win first, or potentially 8 if it goes through to overtime. And knowing us, Tim, it wouldn't surprise me all that much. Let's get into our operator ban. So Banner no doubt going to come out here somewhere. She is the very first out from Navi. Spoke to Doki about this when Bank was first reworked and asked him, you know, what bans are we likely to see on this map? And he said straight away, Hibana. The hatches, especially when looking onto attacking the basement, there's what, 4 or 5 of them you've got to deal with. It's an absolute nuisance. So getting that off the board is always going to be a play. It makes downstairs easier to defend. The Nook is a bit of a spicy one. We've seen that 6 picked in a couple of occasions. Not been out and out a, must ban operator. It's definitely a target ban coming out from DarkZero. Similar story, I imagine, with the Echo.
Yeah, I think the Nock's an interesting one. We don't see too much Nock play, but we do see it here on Bank. There's a couple of nice little sneaky strategies you can try and get away with, particularly down the garage ramp into garage for a basement defense, past the camera without shooting it out, and you can, get in there sort of without really being noticed quite often. So they're just going to take away that potential threat from Navi. Kaid will be the last ban, so that is at least going to leave those hatches unprotected, but without Hibana, they're going to have to think of another method.
I was digging into that Nook ban a little bit further and just wondering if Na'Vi have ever played it on this map. They only played it once, Tim, and they lost the round. So this for me is more of a security ban away by DarkZero. It's less about stopping Na'Vi, that's what I thought the reason might be, but it's likely because they want to play a lot of bulletproofs, a lot of evil eyes, things like that once they get onto their defensive side, and simply do not want to have them in the picture. Na'Vi equally though are looking to take full advantage of that. A Valkyrie on side, a Maestro on side, Pulsano of course, he sees the Nook, but it's all about the intel game coming in here, plus potentially a bulletproof camera or two. In fact, there are two, one on the Melusi, one on the Castle. I don't think I've seen so much information in a lineup before in my life, Tim.
There's an awful lot going on. As you say, Na'Vi, we would expect to have a good handle on all areas of this map, realistically. They should know exactly what DarkZero are doing, where they're pushing from. DarkZero, by contrast, they're going to have their work cut out. I'm looking towards Canadian, particularly on the Flores with those Rotero drones. He's going to have a lot of clearance to do. He's got potentially to pick his targets. He might not be able to get rid of everything necessarily. He's got Banshees to work against. He's got Evil Eye cameras. There's the castle barricades. There's potentially a lot of work that you might be expecting from that Rotero.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it then. First action phase underway in the second series of the day. As a reminder, if you are just tuning in, this is the lower bracket. Loser goes home. So Na'Vi or DarkZero will be eliminated today, which feels weird to say. Because these are two big names.
Go home today, there's 8 teams.
It's scary, isn't it? Absolutely terrifying. But these are two big teams, each in their respective regions of NA and Europe, who you might expect to still see around going into, the later stages of the competition. Here, one of them must go home. Blur, feeding in some information from below, playing on the pulse, just giving his team an idea as to where these repellers are, what's going on up above. Doki, he's always the man that plays around Banana as well. Normally he'll sit inside of there, you'll have something like castle barricades thrown up too. Of course, in this case, non-dedicated there as the site is off towards open area, but he's still lurking around that spot looking to cause some trouble.
That's it, just going to drop away, not wanting to give up his life too soon. It is very early in the round. DarkZero making good early progress here, getting themselves inside, taking that top floor control, and that's pretty big for staff an open area, because they're going to want to try and open up the floor inside a stock specifically, maybe get that hatch open. There is the potential for getting down the hatch and getting the plant down. As I suggested, Rotero's going in for castle barricades, but that is maybe going to leave them a little bit light when it comes to taking out some other utility.
Kind of heartbroken, Tim. I realised I didn't give off my daily love letter to Flores when I saw Canadian pick it in this round. For those who have missed it, and I really doubt you have, I basically, every time I've seen Flores or seen it banned, been like, yeah, Alem's saying this, strongest operator in the game, teams using it really, really well and drawing bans against it. It will come into great effect here, again, knowing that there are Banshees, there are Evil Eyes, there are castle barricades. Sure, NJR can do a lot of that hard work, but what's safer, sending an operator right up to a doorway or sending an explosive drone from long range? The answer is always going to be the latter.
Natural course out. NJR just with a little bit of fancy footwork gets himself back through the wall onto the hard surface and not going to take any damage, so no worries there. Canadian sending in more Rotero drones to clear out more utility, this time to open up that soft wall next to the window, give an angle inside of sight without necessarily having to put boots on the ground. Good work from DarkZero here. Triple wall getting opened as well. Secretly's on a flank, but well aware. Hyper turns on him and manages to put him in the dirt. That's going to be 5 versus 4 now for DarkZero, as Hyper finds himself a second and a third. He just keeps going, Des. There's absolutely no stopping him. His march continues on into sight. He's just going to get himself positioned. Can he find himself another? He can. Surely not a first round ace, Des. Where have we seen this before against Na'Vi? Hyper, he is looking for it here. He knows roughly where the man is. Pepper in the soft wall, can't find the angle. Everybody's getting in on the action here. NJR takes some damage, finds the final kill, and just takes that ace away, pinches it from under the nose of Hyper. But DarkZero, they're not going to mind that one bit. What an opening round from them.
Absolutely huge coming in, Tim. I mean, Hyper there has just torn them asunder. And for Na'Vi, it was curious. Down towards Printer, they had the double wall off towards the left, completely castle barricaded off, but the actual door itself into Printer wasn't. And I thought for the longest time we were about to see Canadian spring in through the window, look to try and challenge in towards site. That was going to be the play. No need, though, when Hyper is stepping up and finding a huge 3K for them to get things underway. Down into the basement we go, then open area completely falling by the wayside for Na'Vi, and can't imagine they'll be trying that one again in a hurry. Down here, we spoke about the impact of the ban on the Hibana. Now, on the other side, we've got the Ying coming in for Canadian as a 6th pick, taking away that Flores. They do have the 2 hard breachers of the Ace with the Selmas and, of course, Thermite with the Exothermics. That's, you know, looking down to it, probably not all that much they can get open. They've got to be selective on the hatches they want. They can't get every single one opened up. So, that's why, in fact, that's a lie, because they've got the hard breach gadget coming in as well, which I didn't think about. We spoke about this on cast the other day, that now it's no longer just 1 hard breach gadget in the back pocket. You now get 2. And many coming into this competition, Tim, were really excited about the prospect of seeing more Buck, because where you haven't got a Hibana, I'm pretty sure she's been far and away the most picked hard breacher throughout the competition, you can make use of those 2 hard breach gadgets to open up hatches on maps like Clubhouse if you're trying to attack into the basement. Similar story applies here. So keep an eye on what hatches they opt to open up. As mentioned, there's quite a few to work your way through. 5 in total, 1 inside of elevator, 1 in lobby, and then 3 off towards the right-hand side. It's definitely going to keep you busy as a hard breacher.
It is indeed. We're going to have a little bit of a push towards building from DarkZero. They're going to get themselves into the top floor again, I'd imagine. We saw them from it last time around, and it worked very, very nicely. Forced everybody back in towards site. Doki already on his way downstairs on the smoke, interestingly.
FMG, is he on FMG? Yes, he is. Of course he is. It's becoming a thing, mate. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's slowly becoming a thing. It's a little while since we first saw it, but he's going to get himself back inside the site. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with a roaming smoke if played in a specific way. You've got the Tachanka on site, so that's your alternative for plant denial. But, of course, you've got to remember how powerful those Toxic Babe canisters are as well, and you still don't really want to be dying with 3 in your pocket.
I mean, look into it, we very rarely see these come as a pair, right? Chanka and Smoke. A lot of teams
either or.
Yeah, I mean, look at Breeday, for example, playing for BDS. RIP. Looking at how they came into things with when Chanka got reworked, you know, sometimes on this map specifically, they would take away the Smoke, which is a bit weird because it's Breeday's go-to, and put him on the Chanka solo. It was very rare they would run both in tandem. They have done it once or twice, but more commonly, they'll just bring one or the other. Na'Vi really doubling down on their denial game because they've got the 2 C4s in back pocket. They've got all those Shumika launch. What a wonderful word, by the way. Shumika launchers to come out of the Capcan? Where am I going with this? Chanka. Honestly, that was so weird.
You've lost me.
On the other side, I lost myself, mate. And the Smoke as well with those 3 canisters in back pocket. They've got so much to work behind here for the denial game that all they need to do really is sit and wait. The problem is they tried that last round and Hyper just absolutely tore them asunder.
It's going to be nearly 2 minutes into the round here, and DarkZero not managing to find an opener yet, not finding a crack in the Na'Vi defense, but they have got control of mid-floor and of top floor, and they can now start putting that pressure on. There's going to be a gadget pinged out there. It's going to be the black eye camera. Not
Is it worth a nade? I was going to say.
Going to be taken out with the Gon 6 rather than the nade, and there is more being highlighted there. The nade this time likely going to be used on that Evil Eye. We'll take it down, so they're doing a great job here. DarkZero of Phase 2, which is clearing out that utility and preparing for the plant. As you can see, the Shumika launcher is now churning, and those grenades start bouncing off the wall and lighting the floor on fire.
I think it's the time on this as well, right? 10 set. Well, they've got what, 10 left in back pocket, 25 seconds, and 2 smoke canisters. They've got this denial game to play behind, which means DZ need to pull the trigger. No, it's all gone wrong on the Coles Canadian, running into a friendly nade. 2 kills come out from a C4, and Na'Vi's strategy has come together, if not ever so slightly off the back of a misplay. Doki finding one more up on the hatch. That leaves Pamba all by himself to try and make some magic happen, but to kill 4, get the plant down, it's not going to happen. Na'Vi going to find round 2.
He goes looking for it. Nath closes him down, but that was never likely to happen. As you say, 6 seconds left to go, 4 kills to find, no diffuser in hand. That is round done. It's going to be Na'Vi taking the win, and they level us up at 1-0. Not letting DarkZero get themselves any sort of real advantage here, and just keeping them in touch for the time being. It's going to be Tellers and Archives. Interestingly, Na'Vi just staying completely away from that top floor site here, Des. They've not really been playing too much of a roam game out in the map. Na'Vi, they've pretty much given up that ground as soon as they've been pressured. I'd maybe like them to try and keep that line a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think in their mind they were looking at the comp they brought, right, and just said, forget about it. Like, we can play on site. We've got 2 C4s. We've got the Evil Eyes. We've got smoke canisters. They've got the Chanka Shumika launchers. I tell you what is it with Chanka today? Calling Capcan earlier on, nearly stumbled over the word Shumika despite saying I loved it just 30 seconds ago. Go figure. Either way, really smart comp for what they tried to do. Didn't want to lose members out on the roam because otherwise that punishes their site hold far more aggressively. And it was a good read into DarkZero, who did struggle to beat pace there. The 30-second mark kicked in, and Saves was like, right, time to ping these Shumikers right into the plant spot. Pew, pew, pew. And before you know it, time was hitting 0. They were down to 1 man left. Great round by Na'Vi. Now let's see how we fare, though, in Tellers and Archives. And this was a site I was speaking to XR Troika about yesterday. And I'm pretty sure he was saying, we just haven't really seen that site so far at the 6 Invitational. We've seen the other 3 being rotated through, but this one, a hell of a lot less so.
Not massive. I mean, if you look at the top floor above you, you've got an awful lot of destructibility up there. So for me, Na'Vi really need to be holding on to that top floor this time around. As the sledge gets in there, NJR is going to have an absolute field day because he can just completely open up around the side.
I had a dig, I've looked at it. We've seen 148 rounds of Bank. Tellers Archives has only been played 8 times.
There you go. Very, very limited so far. And we'll see if there's a reason for that nowadays as Na'Vi try to defend it.
Interestingly, I think it is the only map where every single site has an attacker-leaning win rate. Coastline's still pretty low overall at 39%, but Penthouse Theatre has got a 53% defensive win rate.
Okay. But it's mostly attacker favoured here on Bank, and that's at the minute the side that DarkZero find themselves on. They're going to kick round 3 off as they try to get control of top floor immediately, I would have thought, to push Doki out and to start softening up that site with some verticality. The problem is that Na'Vi have opened up an awful lot around the map here. They've got players, top floor, bottom floor, mid floor. Going to be very difficult to track them all down and clear out, but DarkZero could play into this potentially by just leaving them. Just push to site, watch your flanks, and try to get in through that wall for the plan.
There's a lot less for Canadian to focus on in the Flores this round too. Mainly looking in towards the soft walls, looking in towards the castle barricades, and arguably the Banshees. Potentially could also get the bulletproofs at the same time, though you do have a lot of nades on side, 4 of them in the back pockets of Hyper and NJR, plus the Gun 6 to work through. So they do have a lot of tools here to do away with those things that will be impeding them. But like we saw in the last round, it really came down to a matter of time. At about the 30-second mark, they were looking for the executes who had got all the work done, but it really played into Na'Vi's delayed tactics. In this round, there's no smoke, there's no Chanka, there's only 1 C4. Everything is much more open for the side of Na'Vi here, which means DarkZero aren't going to feel too pressed and worry about that late round denial.
Almost 2 minutes gone, Des, and DarkZero still waiting to clear across the top floor. Blur's up there, Doki's up there. They haven't opened the wall yet into CEO, which is obviously the plan as the Thermite of Eclipse is headed in that direction. It's just going to be done now. And Doki is still in a position to keep fighting here with 50 seconds left to go. DarkZero have got some serious work to do because they have got people on the flanks, they've got people above them, but they've got Doki above them on Arune, who can punch holes in the floor.
And Blur, who's down here. Look, yeah, they aren't really dealing with the top floor. They basically ignored it and just want to strong arm their way into sight. Secretly on the bottom of Blue here might get challenged by Canadian as the plant's starting to get stuck down. Secretly pushes up and loses out. Canadian wins at the top of the stairs this time round at 5 versus 2. And DarkZero have said, forget about your top floor holds. We're going direct to site and we are cleaning house. Blur, the last one left alive, will find a consolation kill. But Tim, I feel it's a little bit late at this point. Getting put back on his feet by the Finker before getting gunned down once more. I don't think he clutches this one out, but we've seen a very decisive round come out here in round 3, Tim. The same as we did in round 1, the same as we did in round 2, and I don't see a way in which DZ lose this.
No, it's very unlikely for Blur now. They know where he's coming from. They're just going to keep peeking and challenging. NJR it is who ultimately picks up the final kill. And it was an interesting round, Des, because with 30 seconds left to go, Na'Vi were looking okay for it. As I said, they had the Arune up there on top floor, can punch through holes, get the lines of sight for the denial, but then out of nowhere. It's as if DarkZero maybe just felt like they had Doki on a piece of string there. It was like, right, we can kill Doki whenever we choose. It just needs to be when the executes come in. And as soon as they set off, Pamba got that kill. And it was just really well orchestrated from DarkZero.
It was very well done. Now, Na'Vi have chosen for that 2-round cooldown to be the point at which they reset back to playing in open area. Once more, very intel-heavy lineup. Likely 2 bulletproofs coming along for the Malusi and the Castle. You got the Valkyrie and the Maestro on side. The big issue last time round was Hyper, Tim, and you can't really just say, we can work around Hyper. No, he will just work through you if you give him the opportunity. So I want to see him find a way to keep him pinned down a little bit longer. Stop him from tearing through the site. Part of that might be looking towards Printer again because I did clock and said Canadian could come charging through here because they've only got the one double doorway locked off. The single doorway off towards the right-hand side was left pretty much soft, so it was very easy to push through there. Wasn't required, but could be a play that DarkZero employ.
Na'Vi this time. We'll see how much they put onto top floor, because, you know, last round it was essentially meaningless. They had the top floor, they had 2 players, they had it held onto for the longest time directly above site, and it did them absolutely nothing as they were picked apart by DarkZero, who had just a really well-timed push onto site. As you say, this time we go back into open and staff area. We're going to have the double door barricaded out towards the window. We will likely see that soft wall opened up as Canadian did last time, I would imagine, but this time not on the Flores, bringing the Lion.
Yep, it gives you the gun 6, so no biggie there. You've got the ability to burn through ADSs, magnets, of which, of course, Na'Vi have none, so those flashes are going to hit true, assuming they are well placed. A lot of their hold has actually gone laterally, so horizontally across the ground floor, rather than upstairs on the second. The reason why you're always seeing Doki up here, by the way, for those that are curious, is it's very common entry path for sledge players especially to come in through one of those windows, up inside CEO, swing your way across through the kind of hallway off to the left-hand side, around Banana, and then down towards main stairs. So Doki wants to greet them, slow them down, because even taking 10, 15 seconds away from a team can really cost them come execute time.
DarkZero have got that door open just near copy window, and they're looking to just pressure a little bit. The E1D scan coming in, trying to hold down Na'Vi, I think, and supporting the top floor push from Hyper just to make sure they've got the control up there. Certainly more focused on it this round than last. Canadian, he's going to try to take himself a little peek into Tellers there. Finds himself in a battle with Blur, takes a chunk of damage and doesn't do any in return. Blur, talking of returns, heads himself back into sight. Halfway through the round now, DarkZero still reasonably slow on the attack, but that hasn't been a problem for them so far, Des. We've seen a great capability to execute, even in a 5 versus 5 late round. They just get everything set up and then push forward when they're ready.
It did sting them back in round 2 because of the heavy denial game coming out, and there is some of that here. There's no smoke, there's no Chanka, but there are 2 C4s. There is the Eve Alive, for example, so still a lot that Na'Vi have got going for them. However, with 70 seconds, you're not freaking out for DarkZero just yet. Give it another 45, and then you can start to panic. Zapping away through with these bulletproof cams, by the way, of course, if you haven't seen them for a good while, they do have the EMP blast now that can disable away hard breach gadgets. It can zap on towards drones, which is always fantastic. Can just generally be a bit of a nuisance. It's not super long lasting, but does enough to slow the attackers down, which again has been Na'Vi's game plan throughout the round. Think back to the very start where Doki was up on CEO windows, a similar sort of story. Nade coming in over the top. They've managed to get rid of 1 exothermic, Tim. That's absolutely huge. A C4 does come out before being traded out by Nadian. So 1 for 1 in the final 30 seconds.
In comes another nade. Saves is just going to hold himself prone and wait for the push to come through. Eclipse moves in. Do they know where he is located? I'm not sure they do, but it's Doki who picks up 1, Nath with the next, and that leaves us now 2v3 as Canadian manages to find a trade there. Pamba's just managed to work his way in behind them here and brings it back to a 1v2. Can he find the 2 remaining? He's got 10 seconds, 1 behind him, 1 off to the side. Diffuser down cold on the ground. Unlikely here because he needs to keep that clock ticking, but he's not going to have a chance. Finds 1. It's meaningless as it comes down to that final finish, and Pamba cannot close it out. Na'Vi with another defense, and that's going to level things up at 2-2, and I think Na'Vi are going to be fairly happy with that. As you said, there's an attacker favour so far on Bank here at the SI, and that plays into Na'Vi's hands right now.
Yeah, a good little adaptation there on the defense too, I think, from Na'Vi, where they clocked the big issue last time was what I describe as probably the most common take on this site. That is, normally you have a sledge coming through electrical off towards the east. They swing that hammer at the soft wall and then swing it straight through the castle barricade on the double doorway. You flood into site, you find your 2 entry frags, and before you know it, the plant's going down, and it's all about a retake. It's, again, the most common way that you'll see that site played out. This time around, they adapted things out. They had 1 on the hatch inside of open area where the soft wall opened up to see straight through to that doorway. They had 1 in the southwest corner of open area to be able to see everything up to the doorway, and had saves inside of sight, which was the main focus of DarkZero. They know that he was there because he just impacted away the exothermic. Flashes came over, frags came over, they couldn't finish him off. So basically there was a 3-way crossfire set up onto that entry point, and despite Canadian's best efforts pushing in through that single area around by Printer, he really couldn't get too much done. So goodbye Na'Vi, and they learned from what they saw in the prior rounds.
A lot of renovation going on down on that bottom floor with the Tachanka just opening up the walls as we would expect, just going to allow those shots to come through when necessary. It's going to be saves doing that work. Doki only again playing on the smoke effort. FMG, question mark? I think it probably has.
Yeah, so they run around with the secondary because it can be a bit quicker. I imagine he's still got the FMG. They've still got the Chanka who's going to do... This is the thing, right? Normally you're like, oh, we need at least 2 shotguns or 2 people able to transform the site. When you got a Chanka, you only need 1 Lord in your team. You only need 1 LMG to gattle through those walls for you. Of course you do. Secret is playing with the shotgun. So, yep, Doki, of course, going to be on the FMG. Makes total sense. You don't need 2 shotguns there. And the rotation from coming in from... Oh, Impact's actually, I'm a liar. From the LMG from the Chanka. So they had everything lined up. What's concerned me here, Tim, they've already lost secretly. And what did we see their game plan be last time? Sit on site, play for the late round denial. You've got enough tools to do it. You should not be losing men early on. Doki darting around on the top floor, definitely risking his life up here a little bit, but balances the books by bringing down the Ying. And for me, that is such a critical pick because that is your go-to execute. You lose the smokes, you lose the candelas, you lose everything you need to make this play happen.
And we saw last time DarkZero attacked onto this side, that was exactly the play that they went for. They tried to use those candelas to get the cover that they needed. It was unsuccessful in the end, but they're going to try again without this time, and we'll see if that can lead them on a different path. Unlikely, I would suggest. They're going to have to do more work this time to find those kills inside a site, particularly Saves and Doki.
I'm a bit of a liar as well, by the way. It wasn't the smokes that are gone because they're on the thermite. It was the hard breach gadgets. And the thing is, they've timed it, well, set it up perfectly, right? Where they need 2 Salmons to get rid of a hatch. There are 5 hatches to get rid of. You have 2 exothermics, the Ace can get rid of 1, and the hard breach gadgets can get rid of 2 more. So you can get all 5 hatches. They've now lost the ability to open 2 of them, so once again need to be more selective in where their focus is going to be. By the looks of it, they're going to start out with this one inside of the office, starting to get their look through into sight. Arguably, it's the most important. You can ignore the server one if you so desire. This one for now at least opening up more of a sight hole onto the downstairs. Pamba making use of it. Maybe this is because they don't want to actually open this up and drop through it, Tim. They just want to chuck nades down instead.
There's no more Selmas because obviously it takes 2 Selmas to clear a hatch. Yep. It would take the thermite now to come up and contribute to that. And I think they've just got too much to open, is the top and bottom of it. As you say, that Ying being a potentially bigger loss than they might have expected. They can do some work from the hatch, but not as much as they might like. NJR just going to take a bit of damage there as he tries to go in, but the Toxic Babe canister will force him back. And look at that, we've got Toxic Gas, we've got Shumika launch of fire down there. It is a nightmare right now for DarkZero to try and get themselves into that position. Eclipse, however, does push in under the cover of smoke. Doki finds Hyper, the rest push in, and Doki just keeps on firing. Eclipse is going to be successful here more than likely, though, in getting that plant down. The cover is there from NJR, but shut down by Nath, and it's surely going to be a matter of time until this final kill comes out. Eclipse downed, and that's going to be Saves. In to save the day, manages to disable that diffuser, and Navi take another defensive round on Bank.
It's good as well. I was nervous for a short while where they had the C4 come out and not connect onto the man. I was like, okay. Sorry, the C4 come out. Liar. When they lost the C4 in the early round, they didn't use the C4 when the plant was going down and just thought, okay, I mean, last time around it was a big 2K from Secretly that really secured you the round. And here they sort of held back on that instead, leaning on the Shumikas and the smoke canisters coming out of Doki. But ultimately, it's none of those things that contribute to the round win. It was Doki getting a massive 3K in the round. 1 early up on the top floor with the trade onto Canadian. Then 2 from inside of Red around the default plant spot as DZ tried to flood the site. Very good stuff from Na'Vi once again. It does put them up 3-2. A good defensive half, given again how Bank has looked across the competition.
They're going to go back to Tellers and Archives, Des.
Okay.
Which is an interesting one because DarkZero won this reasonably easy last time around.
Got 4 kills in a row without a response, Tim.
It came down to 2 minutes 30. DarkZero just set themselves up and they just collapsed on Na'Vi and absolutely destroyed them inside of, as you say, about 4 seconds. So Na'Vi are going to have to do something differently here, and I'm interested to see them not go. You know, this is how much they don't want to go to that top floor site, is the fact that they brought Teller's Archives again, despite having lost it heavily last time around. So it's fascinating. We'll see what they do maybe differently. Last time around it was Blur and Doki playing up on the top floor. They didn't have any impact at all. DarkZero were just able to pretty much remove them at will and get in there and start to look for a plant on site. They forced Blur into a 1v4 at the end. Very, very tricky for Na'Vi here. They're going to be investing up on the top floor once again. maybe it's just about winning a few gunfights this time.
Yeah, and I think the primary reason why they're avoiding the top floor is knowing that DarkZero are a Ying team. Like, Ying is so obnoxious on that top floor as well. You can literally line yourself up on the windows, open up one of the 2 walls out towards the east to give you a sight line across, and then just get loads of smokes in there, get the Candelas in, go for a plant, and the round is over. 1, 2, and 3. It becomes really hard for a retake as well, because it relies on you jumping out, and we saw, I think it was NIP, with a double jump out the other day that cost them the round, because they were thinking, well, we've got to jump out and kill the guy, but they both had the idea at the same time. No one stayed inside, they couldn't defuse, and that round fell by the wayside. So Na'Vi just saying, look, Ying team, forget about it. We are not going to play on that top floor.
Doki just chasing drones at the minute, going to take damage off the windows, and this is the problem. Got to keep him alive and active up there. This time it's NJR, last time it was Pambazoo that was able to take him down on the top floor. He's going to drop himself a little bit deeper, get in behind those castle barricades and just try to hold on. Maybe that's the angle that he was taken out from before. Doki being very attentive towards that main lobby rappel this time around. He's the only one that's taken any real damage. NJR took a little bit of return in the exchange, but the Thinker Boost is going to deal with that and pop him back up to pretty much full health there. Doki, he's just waiting for this push to come in. Halfway through the round, and still no real response, no real action, sorry, here from DarkZero yet. Still trying to deal with Doki. They've opened the castle barricades, and there he goes. Caught out again, Pambazoo again. DarkZero, good start.
Too easy a read there as well. I think once they knew that he was in the position, he'd moved his way back into CEO, they were like, right, he's dead here. His only way out is out through the window or back through the castle barricade he smashed to pieces. And we've got the hold on that because we have players on both windows. An easy close, and Doki arguably overstaying his welcome a little too much there. A nice entry coming in, you don't lose too much because those laser gates are still going to be deployed along with the bulletproof camera that came out. At least I assume he had a bulletproof in back pocket. On the other side, it's the impacts down on the Malusi, so yep, came from the Aruni and the castle. Makes sense. Still two C4s on side, so they can play the vertical denial if they want, but look back to how it played out last time, Tim. DarkZero just ignored the top floor. Here, they are going to use it, so changing things up ever so slightly. So there is still room for those C4s to have an impact in the round.
NJR getting to work vertically now. This is a little bit more sort of evenly paced from DarkZero than last time they attacked this site, where it all came in the final 30 seconds. This time they've got themselves that top floor control. They hold in the vertical angles. Blur's going to take damage there, just trying to fight on the reverse, but he's unable to really find anything at all. Nade goes down. He's not going to find its man. Blur, he's looking back for more. He wants the nitro out there. It's not going to be successful if he pulls the trigger right now. Saves. He's getting aggressive right up to the door here as they push in to try and get that plant down, but he's not going to be able to see it. The man's right in front of you. Saves the smoke, just making it. He finds him somehow in there. Uses the sound cue of the diffuser going down. Saves is having a little chuckle. He knows that he was lucky there. Face to face with two DarkZero players. Na'Vi take the advantage on the defensive bank, and if the stats continue as they have so far, we'd expect them to win a few on attack as well. DarkZero could be in trouble here, Des.
They could do. They absolutely could do. A lot of it coming down to Na'Vi around this site-based play, right? Off on the roam, sure. Early kind of exchanges, 1-for-1, Doki going down early. Not super ideal. And outside of round one, they've just looked very confident. They haven't looked too threatened by the side of DarkZero. And when things have stacked up, they've always found a response. They've always been cool under pressure, stepped away from the site, played off C4, smoke canisters, you name it. Really good half coming out of Na'Vi. Now they switch to being on the attacking side of things, and it's time to see what DarkZero can do in the basement. They have got 3 C4s on side, Tim. They've got the Valkyrie, they've got the Mirror, all the good stuff you saw from Na'Vi, but no Chanka this time round, just the smoke in isolation.
Let's see if they can hold on to this as well as Na'Vi did. Na'Vi were 100% on this site. One of the big differences that we're going to see on the attack, Des, is no Ying, but we do have a Capitao coming in from Nath.
That's a stylistic choice there as well for them, I think. Forget about the Candelas. Give us those firebolts to stop you running over ground. Because, of course, the one thing to consider is a Warden is available. Na'Vi could have brought it out at any time and may well be aware of exactly the same risks. You can basically ignore Candelas at your own risk, admittedly, and still step forwards. You can't ignore fire on the ground that's going to result in you dying. So, again, a change coming in for them. Got the double heart breach gadget coming in, the same as the Ying would have had. So the overall impact in terms of getting ready for the execute is no different. It's more the tools they have available to them in the execute that have changed ever so slightly.
DarkZero looking like they're going to hold on to the top floor again. I've spoke about this already, Des. Something that we've seen out of the North American teams that we don't really see out of the EU teams. We've just seen Na'Vi hold on to this site without doing it. So I'm interested to see the contrast here, because I haven't really been sold yet on this defense of trying to hold on to open and staff that we've seen, because the reason being, we've just seen two very good defenses from Na'Vi that held on to this site without using open and staff.
That's it.
And I've seen this defense picked apart a couple of times now.
Yes.
So we're going to have to see DarkZero do something here. They're going to have to show us why this works. Exactly why is this as good as what Na'Vi have just done on the defense. And if they can't, they're going to be 5-2 down on their own map pick, and that is huge. That's going to be a big problem for them. Eclipse has already dipped himself back to play on top of that hatch as the castle. He's just looking to be able to take a few shots and drop away. But DarkZero, they can't play this passively. They need to hold on to open and staff, because there's a lot of their utility up there. There's a lot of the resources. The hatches are open. They need to be able to use this.
Yeah, I'm looking in towards Na'Vi here. They've cleared out one of the mute jammers that was out on towards Bleepers to stop them being able to get through. On the other side, Secretly has just cleared away the mute jammer inside of staff room, so it's all been cleared out. They can get drones inside, which is exactly where Nath is, and they can see control of open area. We're down to about that minute and 15 mark, so whilst it was less about dealing with roam clearers on the top floor, it was more about those inside open area, which I would reason, Tim, if you're consuming up a bunch of Selmas, for example, they've gone through 2 of those and a bunch of drones are being thrown in. They're only down to 5, and you can very safely drop away to site immediately. That's probably considered a little bit of a win.
It's not, like I say, I want to see this defense work, because I want to see where the real positives are, and one of them so far is burning time. There's no two ways about that. There's still work for Na'Vi to do here. They've still got access to site to gain. They haven't got any kills yet, so this is, for me, the best that I've seen this defense working so far, and I'm liking it. Hyper, he's going to find himself with NJR, just trying to deal. Na'Vi now have got server control. They're in a position to potentially go in and start getting that diffuser down, which is exactly what we see happening. Secretly goes in with the ace. We've got utility coming out to prevent. Blur onto NJR. No more toxic babe canisters. Kill, kill, kill. There they go. The diffuser's going down again, and once again there's that mid-floor hold of lockers and CCTV. Does not work. It falls apart. Cut down by Nath. It's Eclipse is the last death, and Na'Vi take themselves a 5-2 lead, and I'm just not sold on that defense, I'm afraid.
I don't mind it. Again, my reasoning being that, look at Doki up on top floor back on their defensive rounds. When he got picked off early on, he got isolated. He was kind of playing for the trade game against Canadian along with Blur. You're losing out really valuable members like that roaming smoke. Sure, it's got an FMG, but it's also got 3 smoke canisters you really need for the site. The one thing I do really like about the defense for DarkZero is, yes, you're leaving hatches opened up, which makes life a little bit easier for Na'Vi. They only leave the one hatch open, and they commit their mute jammers up onto the ground floor. It slows Na'Vi down, but by the same token, DarkZero, as soon as they feel even an ounce of pressure, and for them, it was a single mute jammer being killed, they just drop away. It was a big frag fest at the end of the day, in which Na'Vi came out on top. 4 kills in a row and a plant coming down. But the one thing I'll also reason to you, Tim, the first plant attempt came in at about the 23-second mark. That was when the first smoke canister came out of the smoke player. If they hadn't been absolutely shot to pieces by the side of Na'Vi, they had the tools to hold on there. It's just that Na'Vi went a bit too aggressive, a bit too fast, and DarkZero weren't ready.
As I say, I think that there's positives that can be taken from that.
Long story, Tim. Stop being a hater.
I can see that there's some positives to the defense. In the time that was wasted, I feel DarkZero maybe just gave up mid-floor a little bit too easily. Like you say, the mute jammer goes and they both drop back to site. I understand they're going to come under pressure, but I feel like if you're going to hold on to that, you've got to hold on to it for as long as possible. I would also say that maybe down in basement, there's a couple of holes there that have cropped up, because Doki's able to drop down and get himself like in behind the defenders practically. And so I think if your positioning on basement level is maybe a little bit better, combined with just trying to be a little bit more competitive in the mid-floor, maybe it's got something. Maybe, you know, we can talk about it and it's something we can work on. But what I can see is that Na'Vi were able to hold it down twice, and DarkZero struggled on their first attempt there. 5-2 it's going to be to Na'Vi, and that is going to leave us now in a seriously dire situation for DarkZero. This is their map choice. They've got Oregon coming up next as map number 2, and Na'Vi are doing well here. As you said at the beginning, Des, we've seen attackers elevators winning more rounds than not here on Bank. And that trend, it looks set to continue at the minute, and Na'Vi, they're pretty much cruising here. And if you remember when I came in, I said, I think this map selection favours Na'Vi.
Yeah, I know our example from Na'Vi back in Stage 3 was their game against G2, right? But as you clocked, even with G2 not quite being the team they once were, Na'Vi still looked thunderous on that map. Incredibly confident on the defense, prolific on the attack. The G2 were left floundering a little bit, and it's a similar story here against DarkZero. Again, reminding you, the team that lose this series go home. They are done at the 6th Invitational 2022. So DarkZero really got to dig deep here, find some ideas to employ in the defense, because they're 1 round away from guaranteeing Na'Vi at least get overtime, and 2 away from losing their own map pick.
Canadian's going to play it inside of the elevator on the top floor for the time being, try and hold them off, but here comes the sweep across from Doke. Is he aware? Not sure. The way he just turned his flank away from elevator there, possibly not. Maybe not been droned out. There you go, that's the answer. So he hadn't been droned out at that point, but will be picked up now, drops himself away. He's ready to go all the way down to basement if needed. It's just a little 2-stop tour in both of the floors of the elevators until he's forced to move. Blur gets in there and starts opening things up, looking towards archives and tellers. The site itself, of course, is open area, but they just want to make sure that the defenders aren't free to stand around and just gun back into site from there.
Absolutely. Here it's about the roam, right? It's about wasting time for Na'Vi once again, but Blur's been swinging that hammer for the last 45 seconds. He's already gone through half his charges on the sledge. It's weird to think there's those charges on that. You never really see a team completely go through all of them, but it's a very real possibility with how much work he's doing that you might see those all chunked out. We're looking towards Nath really as the primary go-to player here, because he's the one with that Capital. He wants the execution tools to come through, and he's starting to position them up for an exit, or an entry, sorry, in towards the staff room side of things. Wall should be opened up. I don't think it's going to get impacted away. Last second they do try, but just about miss out on that one, I think. There we go, it's opened up, so they now have a way inside, and they can smoke on through. So much so that NGR has gone, right, I don't want to get burnt to death, get me out, and he's now backed away inside of open area. Staff is completely open. You're going to find DarkZero playing for angles here, Tim.
Hyper finds Blur, and they've got Canadian roaming underneath on the Mozzie as well. Something to watch in the late round. I'd expect Na'Vi to be aware of it, because Secretly tried the exact same thing and was caught out when he tried to come up blue stairs, but there you go, you can just see Canadian disappearing away underneath. I think he knows his number is up, and he's going to look to try and move elsewhere. Gets himself directly under sight instead, starts playing on those hatches, tries for the 2-floor nade, and sorry, Nitro, and it was very, very close to finding its mark and taking the man down, but doesn't quite achieve it. Na'Vi, 18 seconds left to go, 5 still left on the board for DarkZero. Not looking good.
Nope, still got the tools to work with, and here we come. You can hear the firebolts raining out. No doubt smokes might follow here too. Secretly positioned on the door, ready to make a move as Doki finds one, but it's a backstab coming in. They've got to scramble and get the diffuser here. Doki's inside of sight. Nate's going deep. Will start to get this plan down. Saves on the cover. Has got to win against 2. He gets 1. Can he find the next as well? Yes, he can! A massive cover from Saves on the double doorway ensures that Na'Vi find another round and move up to 6-2.
What a cover from Saves there. He's just one of those players that is so reliable in those late stages sometimes, Des. We see him so often the last alive or in there on the cover for the plant going down, and he had his man's back there. And I don't know what it is about that room, but we've seen some real players there over the last couple of days. We've got to shout out the clutch that we saw coming out of the Sonics yesterday, Des. That was something else. Kansan went absolutely
honestly, mate, for my money, that should be an advert for Siege moving forwards.
Yeah, it's one of them players. It's one of them players. I used to use Scyther, as you know, from Empire on this map.
Shotgun out the hole in the wall, diffuse long arm.
Just big brain. And that Kansan play, I would agree, put it up there with that.
The one thing that it looks kind of confusing about it is the first 2 kills he gets, he flicks like 270 degrees. He's facing southwest towards the bottom left corner of open area and gets a kill. He immediately flicks onto the double door. You just saw Na'Vi push through and go for the plant. Like, you can't even process it. It's that quick. Like, he may as well have pressed the button and moved 270. It just didn't even look like a mouse movement. It was that fast, and then connects a shot. I was like, what? To then go on and win the next 2, especially the 1 versus 1 against Coated, who's up on square stairs, and connect the shots like he did was just unreal. Like, say, a real good advertisement, at least in my mind. It doesn't show all the, I guess, the parts of Siege around things like vertical destruction, being able to smash walls through, for example, but it's just the sheer gun skill that was unbelievable, and it was all done with an SMG-11, Tim. That's the craziest part.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, as you say, you can't really appreciate how difficult that is until you try playing a few rounds with the SMG and trying to hit a few shots. It's always been something that's impressed me, particularly about players like Nesk and Team Liquid in general. They've got a few who will pick up that SMG and just absolutely dish out the damage with it, and it's certainly not easy by any means. So hats off to Canton if you're watching. Great clutch, and what a moment of SI 2022 so far. Back in the game at hand now, V6-2 might have been a little unexpected for some days against DarkZero, who had a much better game against TSM, but I think we've got to, asterisk that with a little bit of caution and say that DarkZero have looked weak when it's come to inter-regional games, and that does seem to be continuing here for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the game against TSM, right? Real fun game that we had.
Oh, great.
Yeah, honestly brilliant. They looked like a different team back then, and I thought that was going to be the start of their tournament, but here maybe it's again it's being slightly rattled by the alternative playstyles coming out, by the different ways of thinking. We heard Jess and Fresh on their desk for the B stream talking about how many teams of thinking about Elevate as being arguably the most terrifying team to play. Super said that in his interview. Don't want Kia, we can deal with them. Elevate, absolute nightmare team, and it's about that unpredictable nature that can really upset the apple cart, and DZ is a team that like to play very structured, are being stung by it here.
Yeah, Sivs is just going to air jab off the main stairs there, prevent any rotation back up, and look how quickly they've cleared it, Des. We're talking about the same defence again that I've already discussed, down into lockers and CCTV, holding that mid floor and trying to keep it from there. This time, last time they wasted nearly 2 minutes in there and they still lost the round. This time, it was about 1 minute 45 left on the clock when Na'Vi got in there and could start working things. They're opening that second hatch now. They've got control pretty much to move down into servers. They can start causing a problem. Doki's going to head down main stairs. It caused a lot of damage from that side previously as well. Na'Vi, 54 seconds, and you've got to feel like it looks good for them to close it out here.
It does. They're in a good position, right? When they've got themselves with the hatches opened up. They're even looking in for a 5 versus 5 plant here, which is the craziest part. NJR going to bring the smoke out, and secretly he stepped out a little too soon. Really thought maybe he could have stuck that one, but they are bringing everything out here. Fire inside of red, so no one can stand present, and now all they've got to do is wait for these smokes to burn through. NJR still sat where he has 2 more in back pocket. He can burn quite a bit of time here. He secretly takes a little bit of gas damage, not enough that it's going to scare him, but does push him off the plant once again. It's a time-based game here, Tim, because one more smoke canister comes out, then Na'Vi are going to go for it.
That's it, and that's why that smoke has come in. Make this throw a little bit more difficult.
Oh, he's gone deep.
NJR can do it blindfold, but it doesn't matter. The nitro comes out. This is better from DarkZero. Blur straight in, though. The cover is there, but yet again, that diffuser is down. 3 seconds. It's too late, surely. Saves, somehow gets in. Can he save the round? Nath is keeping him busy, and he finds the kill. Unbelievable from Na'Vi Des. 3 seconds left to go, and that is Saves, and Nath just absolutely grasping that from the jaws of defeat in that round. Na'Vi turn it around and take the map, and that's 1-0 in quick fashion.
Beautiful. In the same half, they've won 2 versus 2 plan situations. Saves a big 2K in one, Nath the 2K in the other. And he really blamed himself for their defeat yesterday. He put a lot of pressure on himself and said, look, I've got to fix this moving forwards. That is a statement. Big 2K bringing down the last 2 members of DZ and securing map 1 in fashion. 7-2. Man, DZ have got some work to do before we get into Oregon, Tim.
Honestly, they've got some work to do on that mid-floor hold of lockers and CCTV.
I like it.
I'm not sold. They've just tried it twice. They've lost it twice. They got closer the second time, and it came down to a hero play. I get it. But the tried and tested EU method, Na'Vi did it twice, won it twice, and got it locked down. And look where we are, 7-2, Na'Vi, 1 map up.
Well, they've marched their way through that attacking side of things, Tim. 4-2 on the defense, up to 7-2 on the attacking side. They look scary, and that wasn't even their map pick. They picked to go into Oregon. Nervous for DZ here? You think this is a 2-0 coming in?
Could be. Honestly, I think DarkZero just, they've not turned up to the races today.
They've had a couple of games throughout the tournament where they generally haven't shown up in the way that you'd think.
That's the reality.
Can deliver, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, for the longest time, DarkZero carried this reputation of being this team that's fighting around the top 4, but just can't quite push into the upper echelons, and it's really starting to show in this series. I'm hoping they can get things corrected for us, and we'll see what they can do on Map 2. For now, we'll go to a very quick break, and when we come back, Map 2 will be underway. It's Oregon. We'll see you in a few. Welcome back to the A stream here for DarkZero against Na'Vi. Na'Vi 7-2ing DarkZero on DarkZero's map pick of Bank. It is not looking pretty because Oregon is Na'Vi's map pick and it's where we're heading into next. I'm Des. This is Tim. We cast some games sometimes and this one could be another quick one, Tim.
It could be. I expect something better out of DarkZero. Come on, it's Oregon.
Start on defense.
Yes, it's Oregon. You should know your way around it. Shouldn't be a big problem. I'm expecting more. The thing that we're going to need more of is kills because they really struggled in the gunfights. They did well on the entry as well in some respects. 5 between Hyper and Pambazine.
+3 overall, yeah.
That's it, +3 overall. Certainly not terrible. So they just need to keep going with those strong starts, but then they need to be finding the kills later in the round as well, particularly when it gets down. I think the area that DarkZero really struggled with for me there, especially on the defense, was when it got hectic. Towards the end of those rounds, it got really busy, kills going down all over the place, and Na'Vi were always the one that seemed to come out standing. And that is a problem for DarkZero, because there's sites here where you might have that again. You know, you push onto basement, for example, might come down to a last 20-30 second push for Na'Vi. And if they can keep capitalising on that chaos, then DarkZero are going to struggle.
I think Eureka was the artist for that.
Carly, yes. Right? Eureka was one's.
I need that artwork.
Sunstark did one of, I think Sunstark did Nomad.
It's not at all to play off the other artists, but that one of Carly, I'm just in love with. I need to get a print of it. And I'm not normally a person who likes putting things on walls that much. I prefer a nice
very
wall,
nice.
But it's just so good. It's so good.
They're all, like I've said before, all the artwork and all the styling and everything.
It's great. Given again, they're 3.5 weeks to get this together, it's come together really well.
Really has.
I also want to mention one thing that Lycan mentioned an hour ago on Twitter. We had a little 4-minute break there where we browse through the internet and see what's going down. He said, do you think he goes Kansan here? He's saying that he says that phrase far too often. I really feel we need to make that a thing. If someone's about to go nuclear, we say he's going Kansan and just use that as he's going mental.
I'm sure we can fit that in.
I'm sure we can squash it in somewhere, Tim.
I'd have thought so. You see, I quite like that because obviously we've got spots on maps that get named after people.
We've got
Shaco spot, things like that. But to have like a mentality and attitude to be like, oh, he's going Kansan, it's like a different angle to it. I quite like that.
I'm digging it. We're going to try and fit it in somewhere in this cast, Tim. I don't know where it's going to be, but
hopefully
nuclear.
Somebody goes Kansan.
Someone goes Kansan. That's what we're looking for. DZ need to go Kansan, borrow a little bit of their NA Brethren's energy as we step into the halls of Oregon. As said, they will start on the defensive side, so hopefully we see a better performance than we did back on Bank, but Na'Vi are no slouches on this map. There is a really spicy first ban, Tim. We're so used to seeing Maverick on this map for opening up hatches, namely meeting and security, sometimes the lobby one, but normally you'll see the Habana do that. That being banned away is good, and Na'Vi look towards what DarkZero were employing a little bit in that last map. It was Canadian on the Flores. Makes it a lot easier to hold down Elbow, for example, in blue. I think it's just very good to get that off the board. Third ban, going to be the Wamai. We spoke about him becoming part of the common rotation of bans, seeing things like Valkyrie, Mira, a little bit of Maestro in there too.
Really interested to see if this is Kaid or not from DarkZero. They're the ones that have taken the Maverick.
Well, Thatcher's out, so Thatcher's on the board, sorry.
Okay, so Kaid, as you say, will be dealable. He will be able to be out with the Thatcher. But DarkZero here, I think, leaning into let's have a strong defence. Let's have a strong start here. Let's take Maverick away.
Tim,
make it difficult.
Let's have a strong game. I think is their probably question.
Let's have a strong... Honestly, Des, I don't want to roast them too much, but I think at this point it might be let's have a strong round. Let's just get in there and get a solid job done on the defence to begin with, because they just got absolutely rolled on the Bank defence. There's no other way around it.
It's not like you to go in that hard, Tim.
Well, it's not, but they lost 3-0, Des. They didn't pick up a single defence on Bank. You know, it's just, this is it now. This is it. If you don't win here, you're done. You go home along with 7 others today. You know, this is the time to step up. It's now or never, quite literally.
What was I thought something else. You said it out loud, and I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. So we'll park it, and if it comes back to mind, I'll mention it again at some stage. Na'Vi on the attack here are bringing along that Thatcher that we thought we may well see. That should make getting the hatches opened up when there turns out to be a kite, which, unsurprisingly, in this round, there is. Canadian could try and play behind a trick game here if he wants to. He can bounce those Electro Claws back and forth, trying to catch it in between EMPs. The problem is, Saves can chuck a couple of EMPs at a hatch, one after the other, and it will catch any of that attempted tricking. So, because of the slowness of the kite Electro Claws, I don't think it's going to be too impactful. Oh, I know what I was going to say. We saw Eminem play earlier on today. I said earlier on in the competition, they were really not good at attacking into the basement. They run 2 rounds in a row attacking the basement on Oregon against Oxygen. I was like, oh, they could do it. Let's channel some of that, and Na'Vi can win a couple of rounds in the basement.
Oh, I'm channeling for DarkZero here. I want to see.
Of course you are.
I want to see DarkZero come out and give us a good map here. There's a lot of aggression from Na'Vi immediately. Look at them getting straight inside a small tower. Pambazu's going to have to be on his toes here as the drones are going to come in. They're likely to find him. NJR's going to dip away and leave him alone for the time being. Pamba drops himself back into kitchen. Mute jammers are in place, which are telling me that DarkZero want to hold on to this area, but right now they're being forced away. Doki, we know he's one of the most aggressive entries when he's got his confidence up, and that's exactly what he's like right now. 40 seconds, he's charging in, drones in front of him, and he's forced DarkZero back.
It's good stuff. I think DZ playing it quite smart too, where they had the kitchen hold, they had the Zulu hold, for example, but just looking to give Na'Vi an early challenge, get rid of a couple of drones. Na'Vi so far, very good at retaining them. They've got 9 left alive, meaning they've only lost 1 in this initial push all the way across the kitchen. So a very good push so far, being very efficient on the journey through, and now they can start thinking about these hatches and start thinking about what an execute actually looks like.
Pamba's going to get himself back down to sight. I think that's all 5 now as Doki moves away towards those rear stage stairs. He's going to be aggressive forward. Thank you very much, Sayano. That is indeed all 5. Eclipse is still holding onto those freezer stairs with the shotgun. I like it's a bit. I first saw it in LATAM a couple of years ago. It's one of those really aggressive holds that I like. Get down there at the bottom and just right front up to him and don't let him down the stairs. As this hatch gets opened by Nath on the exothermic, he's likely going to have to dip away because otherwise he will find himself stuck, and that's exactly what happens. He trades places with NJR, who drops back into highway. We're going to have the next attempt here. The claw goes out, won't be successful as the hatch is open, so great work from the Thermite, and that is now going to leave us out in a position where all the hatches have been opened. DarkZero have been squished into a little ball inside of sight.
Oh, you stop it. I was going to say like a snowball. It's like picking up a big mass of snow and just going mash, 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 mash all together. Exactly what they've done here, Tim. As soon as that security hatch gets opened up, but no one likes to drop that hatch normally, you'll just push down the stairs. The whole idea is you force the freezer players out on Eclipse. He full sprinted as soon as he knew that exothermic was going off. So yes, all 5 have been condensed in towards supply here, and Na'Vi, if they've got a good read on this, can get away with a lot. Little of a swing coming in from Blur, doesn't quite find his man, does take a little bit of chip in the process. Pamba down to a slither of HP. A body shot will be enough to see him fall by the wayside here, and in comes the drop from Nath, but he looks the wrong way! Doesn't find Pamba, gets the kill back on the other side. Instead, 2 early kills for DarkZero.
Well played from Pambazu there. Nice and calm. No panic in the man. As Nath really should have been finding one. Now then, secretly gets something going from the freezer. Use the flashbang as a little distraction. Goes in. Doki 1. Saves taken out in the meantime. 2v3. Time ticking away. Going to end like that. As DarkZero managed to take round 1. And that's what we wanted to see out of the North American side. Much better defensive hold than we saw from them on bank. A lot calmer, and they were, while still forced back to site, there was a point in the middle of the round where they're all very close to each other, and we mentioned it, we were worried, but they spread out, they recognised it, they got somebody over to pillars, got somebody into Shaiko spot, got people where they needed to be, and were able to challenge Na'Vi as they made their final push into site. Better from DarkZero, and they're going to be hopefully showing us more up on the top floor.
Yeah, I think Na'Vi leaving that one a bit late and potentially a little bit mistimed. Like the drop into E-box of Nath got tagged down. Doki wasn't really anywhere in position to make a play off the back of that. Secretly was still getting control of Freezer. I think they just panicked in those last 30 seconds, Tim, just thinking we need to start making a move now, and players just kind of got a bit ahead of themselves and started on their way forwards. Never mind though, basement may have been a failure for Na'Vi, but a resounding success for DarkZero, who find their first defensive round win in the series. Now we go up onto the second floor, and the comps change around a little bit. You're seeing this Goyo being brought along by Canadian, who's very much playing this filler role for the team today, rotating through various different operators as needs fit.
He is, as you say, it's you know, in EU it's what we see out of Hungary on G2, where it just sort of completely changes up the feel of the lineup depending which operator they bring along. The rest tend to work around it, and Canadian is that central point here. We're going to have a setup inside of Trophy. Interestingly, opened up on the rear side towards Attic as well. Because it's on the right hand side, it shouldn't really impact the player in pit. If you play far enough off to the left, they shouldn't be able to get an angle from the single door at the top of Armory Stairs. So they just need to be aware of that though. Stray too far over and you could be asking for trouble.
This is becoming the go-to hold now for this site. You have the trophy down inside of the shield down inside a trophy, someone inside a pit looking to support. Sometimes you can double it up where you'll also have a shield down inside of pit. I don't think there is one here. It's more just I'll swing and challenge as and when needs fit. Down towards the south side, Na'Vi are getting started on the bedroom. Eclipse finding the opener onto Blur. That's a real kicker, because now they can sit and hold downstairs very freely. You've got Canadian all the way down in basement, Eclipse hanging around security and kitchen. Just no real threat right now to DarkZero, given they've removed the Thinker very early on. Eclipse
has got a Nitro in hand as well, which is an important point to note, so he can't really be ignored by Na'Vi here. They're going to have to try and do something about him, because if they don't, they're likely to find themselves with a little explosive denial under their feet when they try to get the diffuser down, and I think we see from the silhouettes that a couple of Na'Vi players have just dropped down to that lower level, potentially going to be going and looking to clear out Canadian and Eclipse, who are on the underneath still. Canadian just on the top of those laundry stairs, just trying to sneaky wonders. I'm not sure if he's been picked up by Na'Vi or not, but he could have a little surprise for them later on in the round if they don't drone him out.
Absolutely. Saves out towards the east side. Doki inside a trophy, so you have Saves droning him in the front here just to make sure he can push him. So used to seeing that combo. Doki going to swing in, gets NJR for free. What? Nearly finds Hyper as well, but not quite missing out on that one. Pammer gets one back, secretly with another one in the back of sight, but C4 from below. Blur's early death coming back to haunt them. Nath going in deep, looking in for Pammer, but he's on the deck. He finds him for free, and now Saves has got to do it all by himself as two DZ players start flooding their way up towards White. He does get the down onto Canadian, but he's being flanked from behind by Pammer, who's just holding on the angle. This should be a freebie. No way does he find it. They've got Eclipse left alive all by himself. Saves has still got a drone out in the field. He's got time here to play behind. I think he must know surely that there is a man playing on White. In comes the run. It's a 1 versus 1. Saves off to one side, knows where the man is. Tries to bait and switch off towards the other. He's got so much time to play with here, but almost loses out. Both down to a bullet of HP, Tim. All it's going to take is a single body shot. Saves coming in from one side, Eclipse holding the angle. There comes the shot, and Saves winning out a big 1v1.
A 1v3, Des, as it finished off. He's just gone Kansan.
There's our use of it for the first time. Beautiful, Tim. Absolutely love it. As much as you love Saves, again, with a big end of round play. Look back to Bank in that 2 versus 2 in the post plant when I think it was secretly planted for him, and he picked up 2 kills. It flicks around the other way, and this time he does it even without the plant coming down. A massive 1 versus 3. DZ arguably misplaying that one quite a bit, and Eclipse even had the angle ready. Saves just a bit too quick.
Saves did something really smart there, Des. It's difficult in those moments necessarily, I think, but he knew who he was up against, and I think he knew he was up against the shotgun. And there's a point where you notice he was behind the reinforce, he takes a peek to the right and just takes a little shot through the soft wall, doesn't find anything onto Eclipse. But as he's moving to door, I feel like I can sort of hear his thought process. He's moving over towards door, but then he just starts backing away. And he's just creating that distance from him, giving himself the advantage in the gunfight because he's likely up against the shotgun, and he knows that Eclipse is going to expect the close contact on the door, so he's going to stick on the shotgun. Just does that, and it saves his life because Eclipse hits him with a shot that if he's on that doorway, he's down, he's dead. That's it, it's going to finish him. But the distance, I think, the drop-off from the damage on the shotgun just about saves him, and he's able then to engage from a much longer range onto Eclipse around the corner, and it was a beautiful little slow peek from him, to be fair. Beautifully played from Saves. Really, really well done. Nice 1v3. That's going to be one of the players of the day, I think.
You know what kind of scares me thinking about it, Tim? The winner of this game goes on to face Furia in Game 4. Another game we're casting. We just keep on following Furia.
We really do.
And I know many will look at Furia and go, oh, they got 2-0 by TSM, easy. No, it was ridiculously close, the same as it was in the group stage. Like, you can't drive a wedge. You can't drive a wedge between those two teams. That's just how close it is. I would worry for both of these teams how it looks coming into it. Na'Vi, I would still wager, look the stronger right now and do have a good chance against Furia. But you're against a team that is on the up and up. Of course, they're still going to get through DarkZero for now, or the vice versa. This could be a total change around. I want to touch on Blur playing on the Nook, though, here, Tim. We saw it banned away back on Bank, and he goes, you haven't banned it this time, and you want something to worry about? Well, have a Blur in your face. Let's see what he can do on the Nook right now. He's playing off on the south side. Repel joining up with saves. Doki going to be the opening death.
I picked up on the entry that we saw out of DarkZero on Bank, and I said it was something that they needed to continue because they did very well, +3 overall, and they certainly are continuing so far. They've got all 3 here, but Na'Vi's still able to get around back, get a kill back as Saves continues where he left off, finding the kill onto Eclipse and bringing us back into a 4 versus 4. Na'Vi now, they can just continue pushing forward on this top floor. They've still got at least 1 up there to clear out with them, 2 by the looks of things. Blur finds Canadian, 4 versus 3 advantage Na'Vi at the halfway mark. They're going to have to move Hyper and Pamba though. They can't really look at pushing into sight whilst DarkZero have still got players up on this top floor, and Hyper might just have a nasty little angle here which could surprise them.
They'll drone this out before they go pushing into pit, I imagine. They've got kids being dormed out here. Pamba is, of course, supporting on the top side. Has the support somewhat from below off the smoke canister. This is being pushed up, secretly winning out that fight. That is massive, because they've now forced him out of top floor. Blur going to be detected here as well. So even though he's playing on the sneaky Nook, they'll still have a good idea that he's coming.
Need to push forward and get this kill onto Hyper realistically. NJR and Hyper now both playing pretty close by, actually, so there could be an opportunity for them to look at a plant inside a meeting and just try to hold down the angles and prevent these two from moving back in. They've got the drones, 5 of them still on side for Na'Vi, so they should be able to take the time and find where these two are. 30 seconds left to go, plenty of time to rotate around, use new ideas, and then just try to hold them out of whichever area they choose to go for that diffuser. NJR for the time being shutting down a few avenues with smoke canisters. 20 seconds left to go. Blur pushing in here. That's going to be a big kill from Secretly. It leaves Hyper all alone. Nate's getting diffuser down. There's the final one. Na'Vi looking a little bit sharper on attacking the last 2 rounds. Get themselves an advantage here on Oregon.
Yeah, they were a little bit slow in round number 1, but outside of that, being pretty much on fire. The scariest thing is, Tim, every single round so far, all 3 of them, DarkZero have found the entry. This round was a wonderful example of where it all goes wrong. They get the entry. It's 5 versus 4. Fantastic. What happens next? They lose Eclipse and they lose Canadian. 2 members that realistically don't need to die, especially when the other team members are the ones sat on site anchoring up. You're almost trying to press an advantage a little bit too hard. You saw in round 1 that Na'Vi struggle against the clock, that things really start to bite them. So why is it you keep on trying to push for more here when you can pull back and play the 5 versus 4, play for trades on site, and not keep on trying to make these big hero plays? It is costing them here, but at least they now get to return to the site where it did go right for them. Back in round 1, I'm looking towards Doki on the Ying though, and Blur playing on the Nook. Those are the 2 big X-Factor picks for me in this round.
Absolutely. Like you say, that Ying particularly. Na'Vi they felt like they did need a little bit of something to try and get themselves inside a site last time. It came down to the hatch drop from Nath. He was shut down. It was a bit too easy. Maybe the Ying is going to be that avenue for them. Maybe it's just going to open up and create that space that they need to push in behind. Blur as well, going well on the knock last time around. See if he can maybe sneak his way in to a problem spot without DarkZero being aware of it.
Well, have a quick rehost there. As you may have seen in chat, Doki has a small problem that he needs to get addressed. Sounds really cruel saying a small problem.
Not at all. It's not a big problem.
Given the way the...
Going to be back in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, for sure. When I say small problem, I was referring more to his height, Tim. You know.
I mean,
the subject of our opener.
I live in a glass house in that case.
I think we both do, mate.
I'm not going to start throwing stones.
We are very frequently bullied for our height. We do have a very tall talent team.
We do, to be fair. We do have an exceptionally tall talent.
Yeah, like Dev, X, Jackie, Jacob. How can I forget about him? All like what, 6'2" to 6'4"?
Yep.
Yeah, we are at like 5'9", 5'10".
Yep. No.
How small are you?
I'm not 5'9". I'm just less than 5'7".
I think I'm like 5'7", 5'8". I don't know, 172.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, there you go.
I think something might be happening on the other stream. Fluke is getting very excited at the minute. Always a joy to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, over there we found Elevate winning map 1, which probably would have surprised a few people. Not me. I predicted Elevate, you know, big brain. Did you predict Rogue in that game?
Did predict Rogue.
Oh, Tim.
I had a good day yesterday. I got
You're on a terrible day today.
7 out of 8 yesterday, so I was probably owed a bad day.
Well, you made
Everything
terrible
but damn
decision.
Kia.
Terrible decision of predicting NIP this morning. They have not
Honestly,
rewarded you at
NIP
all.
have been an absolute write-off for me. Out of all of their games, I've predicted them correctly once, I think. And that was, I think, yesterday to lose.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got it right?
Yeah, I predicted TSM. That was the only one that I got right for them yesterday. I've had
Them LATAM wheels starting to fall off. Are you putting on the NA ones?
No. You know me, I'm very neutral between regions. I've got a lot of love for LATAM. I enjoyed my time there. You know, I've got some good friends in the region as well, between players and people in the community and stuff. But I just like to see good Siege. I just like to see whichever region it is that's dominating. I don't mind. Just keep showing us big cans and moments and I'll be absolutely fine. If that happens to be NA, then so be it. If EU can come through and get a win, beautiful. APAC, even better.
Big cans and plays. It's going to be a staple. It's not going away. It's going to stay forever. We are getting back into game now, though. Down into Laundry we go once again. A repeat of the same site. Picks must stay the same. So we'll once again see that Ying being 6-picked in by Doki. We'll see Blur on the Nook. And we'll see what happens on DarkZero's side. A small change around this time, Tim, for them. Pamba's now the one playing on the Kai. Canadian are going across onto the Mute. Probably a bit of a bait and switch because the Kai has been traded out for an Ella. A good read in, I think, because Na'Vi will have seen that Kai in the prior round when they were down here in round 1 and go, yep, that's going to be a repeat once again. They'll try and use it better. So may not be expecting Pamba to go charging around on that Ella.
Maybe not, as you say. Also got the good smart mines, which will stun you out if you try to move through them. 3 of them.
It's a good point because for the Nook as well, there's no Melusi on side this time. That was their kind of anti-Nook device that they had set up. Yep. They didn't have one with the Melusi not being there, so this is their step in. It's going to be that Ella.
Right, down we go to the basement then. So last time around we saw this back in round number 1. It was DarkZero's first and only round of a win that they've had so far here on Oregon. It was pretty much down to a very late round drop through Electrical and a push down rear stage stairs from Na'Vi, but DarkZero were more than ready for it, and Nath, he got a little bit unlucky. He burst out of Electrical, looked the wrong way and got taken down, and it sort of fell apart from there really. It didn't create the wedge that they wanted to try and work in from behind. Last time around, DarkZero did start with a couple up in kitchen and dining. This time, not quite so aggressive. Hyper is going to be up at the top of rear stage stairs, but they don't have anybody else out in the map at this point.
No. So really, I'm looking towards Doki here on that Ying as being the go button, right? It's something I recommend to friends when they get into another game I play. I'll always say, look, just pick this person to play because when you press that button, your team knows to go with you. It's a very similar story here. As soon as those Candelas start springing, as well as the countdown that will no doubt be in comms, you're all aligned on when go time is going to happen. And I think really here, Na'Vi need that, given how round 1 went. Things just kind of all crumbled. Pamba taking a very early challenge here. Both members, in fact, backing away from Big Tower. Blur taking a little bit of a chip damage there. Nothing much to really scare him away, but enough to remind him that he is mortal. He can fall down with that big 2K in the prior round. But I don't think it'll be a repeat here, at least for now.
Well, the thing is that it's exactly as we said. Just coming in and being that sort of anti-knock device, get the Element out there, it just holds him at bay and stops him pushing on and aggressive and creating any sort of surprise. Hyper is going to find himself back down in Shaiko spot. All pretty stock standard for DarkZero at the halfway mark. Eclipse is on elbow. I'm not sure how long he will remain there for whilst he's not being pushed, but it looks like secretly he's heading in that direction towards bunker, so he might find a little bit of pressure and attention coming his way in the very near future. Hyper's getting really aggressive here, Des. I love to see it. He can sort of see the knock above the handrail there, but just can't quite find the shots. He's going to dip himself back away, but it's another 15 seconds wasted by the Jaeger.
I feel there's been really good time made by Na'Vi here. They were very good at the clear last time, and it's a similar story now. The only player they haven't really unsettled is Hyper playing on Shaiko, and Pamba could step up back out of Highway and get himself up towards the north. A great nade coming in. He's punished for being there for too long. Doki, only one Candela comes out before he gets absolutely mown down. Hyper, 2 big kills off towards the side, make it a 3rd as he pulls down onto the head of Sage. It's an easy closeout once again. And even with that go button, Tim, they still couldn't get the timing right.
Hyper's just gone wild there inside a bunker. He's just barely moved his feet. He's found them at the bottom of stairs. He's found them on the entrance. Unstoppable. Great round from him. Nice 3K. I'm just going to see it here again on the replays. One inside of electrical, one bottom stairs, one on the... Oh, he just flicks 90 degrees left, right. It doesn't matter to him. It's all the same. Chewing them up and spitting them out. Going to head into round 5 then. All level at the minute. I've just got a feeling, Des, that a 3-3 half maybe benefits Na'Vi here, though, once they get onto the defence.
They will not be complaining if they take away 3 rounds on the attack, absolutely. I mean, they've won the 2, what someone described as one of the hardest sites in the game to attack. In fact, it's exactly how Amerta described it the other day when I asked him, what is it with you boys in attacking? This is Eminem coach, by the way. Asked him, what is it with you boys in attacking basement?
I mean, top coaches, it's
no big deal. Yeah,
not a big thing.
Not a thing at all, no. It's more like he was saying, it's just a really hard site to attack for generally everyone in the game. And I believe the attacker win rate at the time was about 38%. Eminem's was sub 20%, so it was still going pretty badly for them overall. But you've just seen Na'Vi win 2 attacks on it in a row. I touched on it at the start of the game as well. Eminem won 2 in a row against Oxygen, channeling a little bit of that UK massive energy to get 2 wins on it so far. The thing is, they've got to be able to turn it into wins on other sites as well. Top floor and an off-site likely going to be meeting in Kitchen, where Na'Vi have got to stand up against here and find some round wins.
Right, last time around it was a Na'Vi win. This time, as you say, Des, DarkZero need to stand up and they need to find something. Now is the moment. If you want to get yourself back into this, this is one of the 2 rounds that you really need to win. There's going to be immediate attention over towards Big Tower from Na'Vi. They are looking to get themselves inside of Attic, no doubt. They've got Secretly on the Hibana over there. We've got Thatcher on this side of things, just taking out the laser gate for the time being to look towards aggressing onto Hyper inside of Trophy. It's going to be Pamba to open things up, though. Very nice kill there from the top of White Stairs. I'm not sure if there was a little attempt up White Stairs or just in through the door. Oh, it's a beautiful angle, yeah. In through the rotation on Master Door, manages to get saves with the Thatcher. That's big from Pamba.
Yes, something to think about for sure. They've already burnt through 2 of their EMPs as well. Obviously now none left, given Says is off the ball, but they were just used to temporarily try and burn through any ADSs. Unfortunately, was not successful as an ADS did still catch an aid as it came singing on through that was destined towards Trophy and didn't manage to find anything on towards Hyper. It's looking okay for DarkZero to kick things off. Yes, we're only 75 seconds in, but Tim, they've learnt a little bit. They've found the entry, they've backed away, they're not looking for more trouble yet.
Not as of yet. Blur's going to get himself positioned on the double window, see if he can find somebody in behind the bunks. He's knows that Pamba's there, but he's not going to put any shots onto him, and Pamba just retires away back to the top of White Stairs, holding that nasty little angle that he had previously when he found his opener. Doke looking to get himself in and support this Trophy push now. Going to just send the drone in ahead of him. They're just lacking in information a little bit, I think, here, Na'Vi. Not really sure exactly where everybody is holding, but the big problem could be Eclipse on the downstairs. He's still holding onto that double window. You've got Blur playing on there. If he tries to move in, he's unlikely to have too much success.
Absolutely. While the breach being opened up means they've got their angle in. They've got the smokes on the back of the thermite, but Pamba finds a second, finally gets traded out by Nath, who was playing upon the breach. NJR, another one back, a 2 versus 4. Na'Vi have pulled off some 2v2s, Tim. They've pulled off a 1 versus 3. Not too sure a 2 versus 4 is within reach.
Nath just aware of Hyper on the flank here. Blur goes to clear out Eclipse, not going to do it. Hyper wins his 1, and that's going to be DarkZero taking round number 5, and that is much better from the North Americans. Solid hold of that top floor. Struggled last time around, but they get it done. 3-2, they have their advantage. They really need this last defensive round.
They do, and like I mentioned for Na'Vi, they need to really be winning that top floor and the off-site. Top floor, maybe you can forgive not a win there, because most defensive teams on this site will win the basement, they'll win the top floor, and then they'll lose the off-site, either meeting and kitchen, or kitchen and dining. So, meeting and kitchen it is, a repeat of what we saw back in round 3. Doki was the opening death there. There were plant attempts going down in that round, so we'll see if we can get anything coming back on the other side. So with Na'Vi winning it the prior time around, hopefully they get it here too.
DarkZero bringing along the alibi for Hyper again. He was obviously playing that in the last round and it did him well. Got the Valkyrie for the information. Nothing too sort of stand out away from that. Going to open the hatch. She gives them the opportunity to potentially play underneath a little bit as well. Maybe get somebody down there with a Nitro. You can deny the plant on rear stage if Na'Vi choose to push directly in there. But last time around, the push completely came across the top floor from Na'Vi and they were able to be quite dominant in that, taking a lot of control, forcing DarkZero back down to site, and ultimately it was down to Hyper and NJR to try and hold on to things inside the kitchen, and they were just sort of taken apart in the 3v2.
Should apologise, by the way. I realised I got that completely wrong when I was talking about the 2 downstairs sites. Should have corrected me, Tim. Should have me covered. I said they won both the downstairs site. They didn't, because round 1 was where they were far too slow. Duh. Desi Big Dum Dum. Forgive me, ladies and gents. So, standing corrected, it was this site they won last time. And it started the exact same way where Doki was the opening death. Na'Vi still went on to win the round, so keep your eyes peeled. This could still very quickly go back the way of Na'Vi. What I'm looking towards here is this setup we saw before, where Hyper currently was challenging inside of security then. They had a lot of smokes being tossed down in towards security corridor. So I think as the round bleeds on a bit further, NJR will step and play inside a kitchen and be looking to yeet those smokes down south and try and keep Na'Vi at bay, meaning they can only really come from 2 angles, up green corridor or out towards dining. The kind of third option which Na'Vi employed last round was going instead through split straight into sight and looking to get a plant down. It was a big 2K from Blur in the close. So although they closed off 1 angle, there's still 3 others they've got to worry about.
Eclipse knows that there's one out on the master balcony here, playing in behind his shield inside a trophy. Pretty similar to the Dorm setup that you will normally see, but this time he's just trying to keep that vertical superiority. He's trying to keep Pamba and Hyper safe as well. Hyper playing the same angle as he did last time inside of Attic. Saves. How long's he waited for that? About 1:20's gone off the clock, and about 1:10 of that, I think, Saves has been sat on that rappel waiting for that rotation. Picks up Eclipse and levels things out.
Patience is a virtue, Tim. Patience is a virtue. You'll see some players that will sit and hold the same angle for 2 minutes in a round. It can be excruciatingly painful, especially when you're impatient and want to see things happen, but it's all for the good of the team, and that's a great fight back. Like I said, don't count Na'Vi out yet. They were already in a 4 versus 5 last time around and still managed to swing things back. Nades coming in towards NJR, who they want to get out of this spot as Pamba finds Blur. Another shutdown of 4 versus 3.
The challenge continues down there from dining into kitchen, but I'm not sure how much success Na'Vi are going to find with that one. They continue to try and work the top floor. Pamba decides that enough is enough. He's going to drop himself back to site once that breach has been opened up and Na'Vi can start sweeping forward a little bit. Hyper is inside of the big tower now. In comes the drone. He's going to have to move himself quickly as that window gets open. Saves looking to find himself another off the rappel, but Hyper, smart move, smart feet, gets himself down the stairs behind the box to safety, and he's just going to hold on to this for as long as he can. NJR, though, is going to take a ton of damage. Secretly pings himself out, opens himself up to a challenge from Pamba. It will not be quite successful, while Nath manages to finish off the wounded NJR.
Such a smart read from Secretly there. He gets swung from Canadian on freezer stairs and Pamba inside of security, backs himself into white and keeps himself alive. Thing is, it's him in a 2 versus 2. It's Secretly, it's Nath. We've been here before, Tim. If Nath goes for this drop, they can make it work because they're both out towards the south. The thing is, there's a vertical retake coming in here. If Canadian gets a big flank on, Secretly can get shut down from the hatch. Nath is holding in towards security, but here comes the big bad Canadian for the shutdown. Defenders will win the round as they had no cover on that flank.
Really smart play from Canadian there. Just heads up thinking, get myself upstairs. He knew that it was empty at that point. I think they were confident that they were in the 2v2, and he just recognised that straight up there and gets it shut down. Well played from Canadian. He just knew that both of them had likely dropped the hatch because they needed to hold on to that security rotate, and it was just that mistake from Na'Vi that cost them. They're going to move on to the defence now, and they're going to have to match or better what DarkZero has done if they want to keep this one alive. It's 4-2 that they find themselves down, but they move on to the defence. I'm sure Na'Vi going to be a little bit more confident, but tell you what, with the way that people like Hyper are playing, I wouldn't be too convinced at the minute. Hyper is doing some work for DarkZero.
Yeah, you look how these rounds have gone. Na'Vi haven't quite had the same pace as what we saw on Bank, which many would look at and go, well, that's weird, because Bank is a much larger map. Again, it's got this big attacker lean at the minute because it is generally easier to execute into sites, excluding the downstairs, although even Na'Vi managed to make that look like a bit of a catwalk. 4-2, as you saw coming through. So, on the other side of things for Na'Vi, you said it yourself, Tim, they've got to match or better. really that means to me, starting with a big performance here down in the basement. We saw the kind of crumble once on DarkZero's side. They lost it back in round number 4. Things going against them. We've got a quick rehost coming in.
I think it was just called by Hyper. There's a little sound bug going on, so it'll literally just be a case of exiting out, reloading back in, and we'll get everybody back in. It will be a matter of minutes.
I lied to you again, Tim. They didn't win the basement in round 4. I'm terrible today.
Just one after.
Valentine's Day's over. I can go back to being lying and deceitful again today.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah. Too much love in the air yesterday.
Too much love yesterday. It's addled your brain.
It has. I can't deal with being nice to people, mate.
No, that's what it is. It's taking its
See,
toll.
I love how you kind of like get the big split between us, where Tim is super positive. Always, I'm not saying I'm not welcoming or nice. I think I'm a pretty nice guy most of the time.
I'm going to say, you're talking yourself down.
I am. I've so far called myself
super positive. He's welcoming. He's nice. He's really kind.
Yes, he's negative. He's vile.
And I'm just the opposite of all of that.
I just find it really funny because, like, looking at how we dress as well, we both wear the same sort of shirts, but you always button your top button up, and you always have your shirts down. I always roll my sleeves up and always have the top button open. Part of that's because I've got a really fat neck. Don't know why. This big noggin needs some kind of support.
That's it. It needs the stabilisation.
That's it, yeah. Something's got to keep it there. And then, I don't know, the sleeves thing, it's more casual. It's my style. I'm the kind of chaotic good. You're the kind of lawful good. We get both sides of the equation covered. Where would you put yourself on that grid? You're definitely lawful.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100% lawful.
To a point.
No, always lawful.
No, to a point. To a point. And then I reach a point of frustration with things sometimes, but it's quite rare for me.
Yeah, but even when you kind of like snap at things, it's still pretty tame.
I choose to approach things in certain ways, that's all.
I'd definitely put you in the lawful good camp, Tim, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the talent team would as well.
I'd quite happily take that as a compliment.
Don't worry, I put myself.
Definitely chaotic.
Chaotic neutral?
Definitely chaotic.
I'd say chaotic neutral. Tell you what, we need a grid for this. You get all the talent members and just put them in the right place. A little mini game. Be good fun. What else can we talk about during a rehost?
I just like to be nice to people.
I know you're a good person. See, we could go back and do the whole, just a reminder, it's 4-2. We're going back into game. We'll do that in a minute. What else can we talk about during a rehost?
We'll get you covered.
Give me some fun.
I mean, I've been quite enjoying the breakfasts here in Sweden.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not know that meatballs are
a thing.
A thing.
If you've ever been to IKEA, you know it's a thing.
Obviously, Swedish meatballs, or as they call them in Sweden,
meatballs.
Meatballs. Yeah, we have them for breakfast. I'd never really thought of it as a breakfast food, but I enjoy them. It's a nice little start to the day. So thank you, Sweden, for the wonderful food that we've had so far.
Ace just really likes meatballs, apparently.
I do. They're very nice.
I've enjoyed it. It's been good fun. Chicken sausages are pretty good as well. Keep us covered. Pancakes, big favourite.
I've not had any of the pancakes yet.
They are really good.
I've seen a few people wolfing them down.
To be fair, I think it was Skies who came at me on Twitter when I called them pancakes and said, no, they're crepes. You don't know a pancake until you see an American pancake.
Yeah, the American pancakes are much
ones,
thicker. Yeah, they're much thicker.
See, I like them our style. I like them our
They're a very
kind of
different thing, but obviously in the UK we have Pancake Day in February.
It's the best day of the year.
And ours are more like crepes. Yeah, ours are very thin.
What do you have on your pancakes, Tim?
I don't generally eat pancakes.
Oh, right.
I'm not a big fan of them, but when I do, basically when I get enough aggro off my family at home for being miserable and not liking pancakes, I have them with Nutella. What I tend to do is make a nice pancake, put the chocolate spread on there, and then roll it up, and that's me.
I'm still stuck at the part where you said you don't like pancakes, to be honest with you. Just when you think you know a guy, he tells you he doesn't like pancakes.
The toppings and spreads are available.
That's a big problem to me, Tim, in the same way that Na'Vi arguably are facing a big problem. They are down 4-2. DarkZero on their attack, on their defensive half, coming out strong. We said coming into this map, after the slapping they got on Bank 7-2, not winning a single defensive round, we needed a big Oregon performance, and I feel we've had it so far. 4-2, definitely not a bad split. The issue is now you're facing Na'Vi on their map pick, on their defensive half. They're going to give you a bit of a run for your money here, I think, and they'll keep them busy for sure out on the roam. And Doki, looking at this already, is looking to challenge out onto the front door. Keep on speaking about this DMR on the Rooney. I think it's like 63 damage a shot or something, 2 body shots. You can do the maths. Pretty much everyone is going to die.
I've been using it to do the challenge. Anybody who's been playing the Stadium event, if you haven't, make sure you have a look. It's absolutely fantastic. You get to play both the 2020 version of the Stadium map and the 2021 version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go back and you get to play both of them again.
I've just been a ranked Sweatlord. I've just been in ranked.
I know you do. But there's obviously challenges in place as well at the minute, and one of them is kills with marksman rifle that count towards your battle pass points. So yeah, I've been using the Aruni marksman rifle to clear a few of them off. Twitch as well on the attack.
Oh, big fan.
Yeah. So I'm not that great with them, but we managed to find the odd kill here and there. Talking about finding the odd kill here and there, Nath, he's going to dip up to the top of Freezer Stairs, see if he can find one out into the corridor. Nothing doing at the minute, and I'm going to say the same for Na'Vi that I said for DarkZero here on Bank. This is an important round. They need to be winning this first defense. If DarkZero get this one here, you feel like they are answering back, and they're likely to take this map. It was on Bank. DarkZero could not lock down round 7 and Na'Vi started to run away with it. So Na'Vi, by contrast, you gotta lock this one out if you want to be going for the win. DarkZero now have got themselves the mid-floor control. They can make sure that they've got the hatches, they can start with access to site, and they're only at the halfway mark. Plenty of time for them to work with.
I was going to say it's been a long time droning for Eclipse though, you know, 90 seconds into the round and he hadn't used a single X-Kairos batch. Like, he's now getting the 2 hatches open that need to be opened up because the meeting one had already been sorted out. I think it was opened up by Na'Vi themselves to use as a fallback point. Just acknowledging it will be taken. We may as well just get this one open. Now those 2 hatches are opened up, Nath is forced back from playing inside a freezer, and you're seeing the same snowball effect. And not in terms of a snowball rolling down a hill, more DarkZero just like grabbing a big mass of snow called Na'Vi and just mashing it as small as they can, trying to condense Na'Vi back in towards supply so they're all lined up in this kind of small horizontal stretch of the map.
Out goes the EMP just to clear off the Aruni laser gate. The drones are raining in now. Canadian, however, is going to find himself down, and Na'Vi are standing up pretty well so far to the DarkZero onslaught as we come into the last 30 seconds. DarkZero just struggling to take those steps and move forward, and that laser gate is just going to get reactivated as well. That could be a big play for Na'Vi with 25 seconds left to go. Doki needs to be careful about over-aggressing. NJR finds Nath, level things up 4-4, and now it has to happen for DarkZero. They got to go aggressive and push forward. That's a big second from NJR. Gives him control with the freezer, and he can do some serious work from there. It's all down to Secretly and Doki, and Doki is low health, but we see a man downed, but the Finker boost immediately picks him up. NJR getting himself another, getting that down. But the shots come through, and Na'Vi just managed to hold on as he doesn't stick the plant.
That's a real kicker. I think he gets shot there through the soft wall when they've all scrambled down towards Laundry, not knowing where Doki, the last defender, was, and gets a big kill through the wall to end the round. Na'Vi taking it by mere margins there, but a win is a win. And rather than going straight up to the second floor like we saw DarkZero do, they're going to try an offsite first, meeting and kitchen, where we head to in round number 8.
Interesting to go to meeting and kitchen to begin with. Maybe just try and throw DarkZero off a little bit. Maybe. The thing is, I think with mentally, if you get this one, I feel like it gives Na'Vi a little bit of an advantage because they've still got that top floor that they're going to be reasonably comfortable on. And they're then in a position of winning that to go 5-4 and get themselves ahead with Laundry ahead of them as well. After that, you're almost, you're not guaranteeing yourself, but win this and you put in 1 foot into that match point situation. You're getting yourself what should be 2 pretty difficult sites for DarkZero to win to put yourself on that 6 point. So it could be a smart play from Na'Vi here.
Could be. Love the mind games that you get, especially on maps where all 4 sites are viable, looking towards things like Club, looking at Coastline, looking at Villa. To be fair, it's a pretty good spread, and same thing can be said for Chalet, where you can play all sites that are viable on a map. You know, over half the map pool does have all 4 sites able to be played, same as on Oregon. Way back throwaway from what we used to see when it used to be only the 3 sites, the 2 primaries, and then the tertiary site. I like that we're getting that kind of optionality to use all 4, Tim.
Going to have a lot of top floor presence from Na'Vi, as we would expect. Blur is up there. I think Saves is joining him inside of the attic as well. So those 2, as a minimum, going to need clearing out. But we've also got Secretly with Nitro in hand. We've got Doki with Nitro in hand. So there are plenty of options here for Na'Vi to fight towards that top floor, even once they have been cleared out, should DarkZero be successful in doing so. 45 seconds in, DarkZero not messing about here, getting themselves inside a trophy. challenging on to Saves to begin with. And Saves, he's very focused out towards this backside. He's not going to catch anybody yet because they're out on the rappel. They're not inside of the building, although the silhouettes look, it can be difficult to gauge, get the depth sometimes, but that's what I'm here for you.
We've had it a few times with like walls.
You say, oh shit!
Like, is he in front of the wall? Is he behind the wall? Because they've obviously tucked him right against it, and it often turns out that on the other side, why would they expose themselves after all? Doki able to give a bit of support as well with the cams on the backside. He's just sat here flicking through those as any good Valkyrie player should do. And with that information in hand, they can just sit here and wait. DZ the ones who need to make the first move. They're the ones who need to punch a hole through this Na'Vi setup on the top floor. Blur here on the swing as well. Sees the tiniest little pixel change through that little bit of soft wall. Tries to escape but can't quite do it. Saves in for the trades.
Well played from DarkZero. Great teamwork there. The pinch came in. Blur had absolutely nowhere to go and manages to get his kill. Pamba does lose his life along the way, but that leaves them now in a 4v4, and more importantly, it leaves them with some top floor control. But they're going to have Saves potentially pushing them back. But Pamba's dead, can sit on the drone, so it's unlikely that Saves is going to be successful here in getting himself through Attic unspotted. He's going to have to at least bide his time and wait until the very busy late round, but I would expect Pamba's not on the drones at the minute, so it's not actually being watched. There is an opportunity for Saves here if they're not careful.
I think for Pamba he was, because I saw him cycling through, although I know what you mean. Obviously it's saying here that he's not. There is definitely someone always watching that drone on the flank. Like, that is the key to their attack working here. If Saves somehow gets around it or manages to deal a blow, there is a big problem.
Not seeing anybody on the drones at the minute, so something to keep an eye on for DarkZero. 25 seconds left. They might not be too worried about it at this stage, as they're in a position to start getting the diffuser down. But I mentioned Nitros at the beginning of the rounders, and secretly finds the mark with his. Hyper goes in to make that attempt again. It's now 3v4. Here comes Saves on the upstairs challenge onto NGR, and he looked unaware to me, and that can't be allowed. He does manage, however, to find the kill. Second Nitro from Doki this time. Gets Hyper, but too late. The diffuser is already down. It's now down to NJR and Canadian to close this down. Beautiful from Canadian on the main door there. NJR's up above. Secretly, he's going to try and stick this, but it's going to be all too easy for NJR, who now drops down into sight as Doki gives chase. Surely this is over, and it is, as DarkZero close it out, and it's 5-3.
Beautiful stuff. Good fight back there from DarkZero as well, when it felt like for a while they might be stalling things out a little bit. Even in the post plan, Canadian being outside front door, I just thought he's not in a position to have an impact here. But somehow they get away with the plan, even with the Yokais on side, as well as the Valkyrie. We were touching quite a lot on that potential flank coming in from Saves, and it did almost bite them, Tim. Questions to be asked there.
I don't know what was going on. Like I said, you know, we could see there were a couple of the players on drones, but Pamba was just watching Hyper. And then as they came off the drones, Pamba didn't go on to them, so there was nobody watching that flank at a point. If you're going to put the drone there, why not watch it? You know, you need to be keeping an eye on it, because Saves very near. Honestly, if Saves gets that kill onto NJR, that round is different, because Saves got the hatch power then, and he's going to shut down any plant attempt. NJR came in and used it to be able to stop the disable from secretly. Such a power position, and they almost lost it.
Absolutely. Well, enough for them to feel they need to have a timeout here. Spotted a couple of issues in that round that was biting them. I doubt it was with that strat specifically, but maybe more around communication and little things they need to clean up across the last couple of rounds. Because although they did win that round 7, it was definitely not close. It was, well, sorry, it was very close. It came down to Doki in a 1 versus 3, getting a kill through a soft wall. So the last 2 rounds have not been pretty. DarkZero could have been up 6-2 at this point, Tim.
They really could. There's been opportunities there for them, and I think it sort of plays into what we saw on Bank. Obviously Na'Vi were the better team there, and they came away with a good win, and I feel like on the day they probably are playing slightly better Siege in terms of winning the gunfights and stuff. DarkZero have really warmed up over the last couple of rounds. We're starting to see much better from them, but it doesn't surprise me that where maybe Na'Vi took the opportunity to get themselves to 6-2, DarkZero haven't maybe quite managed to capitalise in the same way, but they're looking good for it at the minute. They're going to be attacking now onto Dorms. Essential round for Na'Vi here, because if DarkZero can take this as well, then Na'Vi are going to feel pretty much beaten. It's going to be 6-3, it's going to be map point, and they're going to have lost 2 rounds back to back.
This is a bit of a spicy 6-bit coming in for Na'Vi as well, away from the Valkyrie, which is the most banned operator that we have. Like, really, that should be staying on side, but they've swapped it away for a Frost. Now, whether or not that's kind of relying on being able to catch DZ off guard, I imagine there's a fair chance they get droned out at some point. I don't know. It feels risky, I guess, with the mute. You can block away the ability for drones to get visibility on it. If they get it down, it's all worth it, but it's always that big if that worries me, Tim.
Always the big if, as you say. Right, going to get into the action phase then. We've got 3 defenders on site. Doki heading his way down main stairs, just looking towards classroom, and then there's one out over towards rear stage as well, I believe, and that is going to be the Na'Vi contingent and their setup. DarkZero looking like they're going to be pushing in from the west side. They've mostly spawned over there. Probably try and get themselves pushed in through dining kitchen, make sure that they're cleared out underneath. Doki, he's really waiting for something here, does.
I mean, like I say, patience is a virtue in a game of Siege at this level. Bit of an update for you, by the way, on the other stream. Rogue are currently up 6-3 on map 2, so that one could be going through to 3 maps at the same sort of pace that this one is.
Might save my predictions.
Might do, might just do. You predicted Rogue, didn't you?
I did predict.
And I predicted DZ in this game. Okay.
I was wrong on NIP earlier.
I was right in MIBR.
Yeah. I need to catch up today. I had a good day yesterday.
You're a point ahead of me still.
I was 7 out of 8 yesterday. I had a good day yesterday.
5, I think.
Just to keep myself on that top row, but then today's proving a little bit trickier.
Yeah, it is. It's that kind of time where teams start getting knocked out and they really pull out everything in the tank to make it happen. Here, at least, on this top floor, you've got Nath roaming around inside of the basement. No one to track him down, no Jackal, for example. And in a bit of a reverse situation, Doki's not going to be the opening death. He's been caught out a lot in the early round on this map, but he's the one to find the entry, and it removes the Iana away from DarkZero.
Big opening kill, exactly what Na'Vi needed here if they want to try and hold on to this and get themselves back within touching distance. Hyper knows that there's someone down in the basement, but he can't stand here and watch this angle all day. Nath is miles away. NJR going to find a nice nade onto Blur. We've not seen too many explosive kills, but certainly putting them to work here. Unsuccessful that time around, as the defender had just moved away from the location. Nath, he's going to get a freebie here. There's not looking at him at all. NJR, I think, completely unaware. Nath actually just backs away. Oh, Nath, I think you've got an opportunity there to get in and find that kill, but no. Hyper, he manages to continue the onslaught from underneath, and DarkZero really stretching the legs now.
That was up onto concrete as well, so he must have like wrapped it up through the floor and managed to get it straight up on top of the player playing there. They thought they were safe? Evidently not. Eclipse going in for a plant as Pamba finds Doki, finally getting revenge for Captain Nadian, who fell down earlier on. Saves on the swing, but his full white flash, he can't do anything about it. DarkZero get the round and move to match point. Tim, I'm starting to feel like that third map of Kafe is just around the corner.
It's almost certain at this point. Na'Vi really getting the answer back that DarkZero needed to give after that opener on Bank. It's looking perilous for them right now as they find themselves on 6-3. They have to win every single round from here if they want to get themselves into overtime. They're going to head down to Laundry, a site that they did win last time, Des, but if you remember, it was won on time. The diffuser was going down and it was extremely close. So, Na'Vi, you're going to have to show us more because DarkZero, they are in the ascendancy.
That was more of a misstep by DarkZero as well, and I understand why. They were running out of time. You know, you're on Laundry door. What are you going to do? Run down towards Laundry, or are you going to try and plant inside a supply? Went for the plant inside a supply, not being 100% on knowing that Doki was hanging around Pillar. So I don't think you can rely on that big clutch factor this time round. Na'Vi needs to be a little more proactive maybe in finding themselves something in the round. Although, that said, whenever they've been out on the entry, they have been picked up. And I just want to raise, by the way, Tim, since our rehost, NJR is 9-0. 9-0. What is that? And that's the second rehost we had as well. He had more kills between the two and kills prior to it.
Certainly a worthwhile stat to be pointing out, as you said, as NJR. He's been quietly going about his business as well. It's not like we've had an ace from him that accounts for over half of it. You know,
we did have the quad in round 7.
Yes, there was a 4 in round 7. Apart from that, he's just been quietly going about his business. Nade kill here, nice little sight kill there, and doing a great job for DZ. They're looking much, much better now. They are certainly carrying some momentum here. I think Na'Vi have struggled with this throughout the tournament days. We saw it against SSG as well, whereby they get themselves ahead, they get themselves rolling, and then they just struggle to keep that pressure on.
Okie dokie. Let's see how this one starts setting up then. Looking in towards Na'Vi, at least they've got themselves Doki up on the ground floor inside a lobby. Previously, they've seen Canadian come challenging it through that door, so maybe he's expecting to greet him on his initial point, or at least entry into the map. This is only ground floor, mind you. You've also got Nath hanging around Zulu, Blur inside a kitchen, so quite a heavy ground floor presence coming out of Na'Vi, looking to burn through some time here.
Secretly, he knows there's a man pushing in front of him. He made the challenge onto the door, but it's 9-0. NJR is going to be looking to see if he can extend that. I'll remind you, it is after the rehost that we had that it's 9-0. There'll be some deaths there somewhere, but he's looking for number 10 since that point. Not going to find it. Secretly takes a little bit of damage, but manages to hold on for the time being. Doesn't really want to be losing his life up there, though, Des. You know, this is not looking good for Na'Vi as Hyper manages to find himself a big double with the second onto White Stairs, and Na'Vi really throwing a lot of bodies at that top floor to say that they're defending down in the basement.
Risk versus reward, Tim. If you really want to commit to a hold like that, you've got to make it worthwhile, either through burning resources, time, or better yet, enemy players. Instead, all they lose inside 75 seconds is 2 players of their own. They have chewed through a number of drones. There are only 3 left for DarkZero, but they've got a lot of work to do on site. They've got a C4 on Blur. They've got the 3 smokes in the back pocket of saves. They have got some tools here, but it's not a lot against the onslaught of nades that are going to start flying in from DarkZero.
Doki's got himself stuck here in Garage. There's only one way out, and that is guns blazing. Eclipse is holding onto it. He just needs to stick on that angle, essentially. DarkZero working around for a pinch, opening up every angle. It's going to be a matter of time. There you go. Eclipse steps in and gets him. Saves manages to pick up the trade, at least, by working smartly from the top of Laundry Stairs with that shotgun, but it's just not going to matter. Blur manages to get Pamba, and all of a sudden 2v3 from what was looking like a big start for DarkZero at 5 versus 3.
Yeah, they've really swung it back, but here they come with the E-Box. Drop one straight onto a smoke and gets headshot off by Blur inside of Freezer. Canadian coming in at least with an EMP there, trying to find out what he can to disable some of those gadgets away, but saves a big flank coming up here towards Blue. Will he find him out? Yes, he will. NJR left all alone. 9 kills to his name, has not died in a good few rounds, but here he's got to do it all. He's got to bring down 2 entirely by himself, potentially even look to get the planter down as well. Saves on the swing, gets the close out, the 2K at the end coming in. It's another big 2v2 being won out by Na'Vi, Tim. It's a theme across this series.
It was very, very well played there. I mean, 3v5, they lost 2 players on the top floor within the first minute and a half, and you just thought at that point, wow, this is Na'Vi done here. DarkZero have got to be able to push on. 5v3 on a Laundry basement attack. Surely they can get that done, but Na'Vi just playing it super smart. They took a couple of risks to begin with to hit them on the flanks and just thin the numbers, bring it back into their favour a little bit, and then retired to site. Perfect moment, held across with each other, and just it was just really well played from the 2 of them. Absolutely perfect. Na'Vi get themselves back to 4-6 then. DarkZero will have another opportunity to close this one out. I'm just a little bit worried for DarkZero on the quiet days. Obviously, we've seen their form up and down, and I just wonder, you know, they're on 6. Are they going to be able to close this out?
It's one of those, right? I mean, we keep on talking about him, but it's worth mentioning again. NJR has done a lot of work in those round wins. He's been picking up several kills since that rehost came in and dragging rounds over the finish line where they look to be a little bit stuck. On the other side for Na'Vi, saves is 4-3. That's the only positive player they've got at the moment. Since that rehost came in, it's been a slow few rounds for them. But for DarkZero, you can't keep on counting on NJR to do it all for you here, surely. So for Na'Vi, they're probably fancying this win up here. It'll then be the offsite where things get a little bit ropey. So to start with, up on the second floor we go. Let's see how their hold shapes up.
Need to do better than last time around. It is quite as simple as that. Dorms back in round 9. DarkZero were able to win. It started with Doki opening things up with a kill onto Canadian. It was after their tactical timeout. They'd had a word. They came back in. Doki gets the opener, and still DarkZero were able to close the round out. So Na'Vi, you can't be allowing them that sort of foothold. You can't be allowing them to get themselves into rounds like that when you've got that advantage to begin with. They're going to be looking for it again. 30 seconds off the clock. There's nobody playing underneath. It's not really something that Na'Vi do, is playing with that player insecurity to try and hold down the double window.
They've got Nate down in basement, but my concern here is more about what happened last time on this site. It was the 2 vertical nade kills coming in for DarkZero. Absolute freebies, because as you say, Na'Vi don't challenge inside the kitchen. They do on the basement, but they normally pull their way back as they move further through the map and look to draw back in, get the drop down to site, so on and so forth, waste a little bit of time. And earlier on, they did back in, I think it was one of the first rounds, they did have a hold in there with Blur holding on one side and Doki down to the other. They are prepared normally to challenge. It just doesn't feel that way on this site. So it will give free entry to DarkZero here to start yeeting nades skyward and find out the members of Na'Vi. And the beautiful thing about nading in towards this site, there's only really a couple of spots where a defender is going to play. So even without droning, you might be able to get an absolute freebie coming in.
Very potentially. Save's just looking for that drone. He's chasing it round here. He really wants rid of that information. DarkZero down now to 6 drones at this point in time, so Navi not doing a terrible job, but here come the nades from underneath. NJR gets himself underneath there. We've already seen them have success with this, and Navi have been unable to challenge onto it really or do anything about this. They've been unable to prevent DarkZero just playing at will with nades. Doki should be safe there, just manages to step himself. He's going to actually climb up on top of the games table. He really wants to try and keep himself secure.
Saves keeps on moving corners every 2 or 3 seconds here. Very rarely staying in one place. Out of fear, the nades might find NJR. Oh no! NJR finding him first. That was through the hatch as well. NJR just ready. Nath almost losing his life and finally going to die out to white there. A good close in by Hyper. A 5 versus 3 for DarkZero once again, Tim, but we saw how this went last time around.
We did. Na'Vi were able to hold on to it, but you just feel like they've really got their work cut out this time. Secretly's holding on to double window. Doki's got white stairs and DarkZero have got time. 30 seconds to start making this final approach, and that's going to make Doki's life difficult. It took his eye off the ball when they push white stairs. They go in mob-handed and manage to find him secretly. Gets eclipsed, but it's 2v4, 2v3, surely not 1v3 as Pamba. He's now looking for that final kill. It's all up to Blur and the diffuser's going back down. He's outside of sight. He's got to fight his way back in here, and surely they know where he's coming from. He thinks there might be one on the rappel, but there isn't at the moment. As soon as he peeks this corner, he's likely to get picked up by Hyper, and it is the man himself who finishes off the round, the map, and that is going to be Na'Vi finding themselves at 1-all after a good bank. They fall on Oregon to DarkZero.
Which means all 3 maps, that NA versus EU showdown, Tim, comes to that 3rd and final map to see who gets sent home. And Kafe has been one of my favourite maps to watch throughout this competition so far. Really excited that the series will go that far. But truthfully, the thing I'm most excited about is seeing NJR's total stats after that map. He was 11-2 there by the end of the final round, and that was just into rehost in the second half. He must have been absolutely nuclear given how the first half went for them.
Definitely a big game from him, and couldn't have come at a better time for DarkZero. Going into 3 maps in an NA-EU showdown with one team going home. Does it get bigger than that? I dread to think what the timeline's going to be like after this one.
Ooh, it's going to be an absolute steaming hot mess, and that's what we want to see, Tim. We're still yet to see someone really go truly Kansan so we can use it, but NJR came pretty damn close. Still,
that is 1v3.
Very true. Still, a tale of 2 tapes here we're seeing. One where on Bank we've had Na'Vi run away with it 7-2 very comfortably. Here on Oregon's closer than it was on Bank, but still a pretty decisive win overall for DarkZero. I'm finding it hard to call which way this one goes. Think back to when we did TSM versus Furia. That was back and forth. We didn't really know which way it would end. I'm getting a similar feeling from this series.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's the toss of a coin now. It's, you know, all the cliches. It's on a knife's edge. It could go either way. It really is that close. You've had 2 good wins for both sides now, and this is really anybody's on Kafe.
Who knows which way this series will go? There's only one way to find out. That's to go to a quick break. When we come back, Kafe awaits. See you in a few. Welcome back to DarkZero against Na'Vi. We've had two relatively one-sided maps, a 7-2 coming in on Bank, a 7-4 on Oregon. This all comes to a point now on Kafe. The loser is out. Their SI 2022 run is over. And naturally, you got me, Des, and Tim to bring you all the action in this third and final map. Tim, let's have a look at the stats, because I was super excited to see what NGR had achieved, and truthfully, it wasn't as high as what I thought it might be. He had 11 kills after the rehost and clearly was pretty quiet leading up to that point, but let's not take away the fact that a 14-6 and a 12-6 are massive scorelines to put up.
Oh, absolutely. You know, 26 kills across Hyper and NJR. They were absolutely dominating Na'Vi. There's no two ways, you know, there's no other way of putting it. And that's probably being kind. Saves, 3 of his kills came in that belter of a 1v3 early on in the map up on Dorms. It was really well played, but it just wasn't enough for Na'Vi. I mean, everybody's been quiet there. Dorky 6, Blur 6. It just looks very different to the top end of the table for DarkZero.
And DarkZero +5 on entry across the entire map. That's ridiculous. They were +3 on Bank despite losing out. Here, they actually managed to convert a number of entries into genuine round wins. It's good stuff, and like I say, it gives us a really spicy affair now where it's go hard or go home, quite literally, for one of these two teams. And we said before the break, it's really hard to predict which way this game goes, given we have seen two very different maps so far.
We've got DarkZero just doing some last-minute team talk and preparations there before they get themselves into it. Na'Vi sat ready to go, looking pretty calm. The smiles, there's a bit of, you know, not much tension there on the faces of the players, and that's always good. You don't want to be coming in, you know, to a final map sort of terrified of playing it. You've got to have that relaxed mentality, and it certainly looks a little bit more business in DarkZero's camp.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, some really serious conversations going down here by the looks of it, where they know it could be the end of their run. And truthfully, I think for both teams, given how their group stage went, probably not so much counting their lucky stars, but probably feeling quite fortunate to be where they are, still within a spot where they can keep on fighting their way through and get into the next round where you start getting down to the top 8 teams. Again, as Tim has said, 8 teams go home today. If you make it through today, you are essentially a quarter-finalist team. You will be in that final 8.
I think today is probably the deadliest day of SI?
Yes, because tomorrow we only have 4 series. We go down to a single stream then, so we can say ta-ra to the Bravo stream.
I think it is. I think today will be our deadliest day. Even at the end of groups, we only have 5 teams go home.
We've had M&M go.
Oh, 4 teams. There was 4 groups, sorry.
Yeah, M&M have gone. Defending world champions, NIP, have gone.
Yeah.
And one of these teams are about to join them.
One of these teams is about to join them, Elevate and Rogue. One of those is about to join them.
Their game sounds incredibly back and forth.
As this one has been.
Yeah.
We've had a big win for Na'Vi on Bank Map 1. We've had DarkZero take Oregon. Interestingly, both teams actually taking the other's map choice, as we do see sometimes. And that's going to lead us, Des, into map number 3. It's going to be DarkZero versus Na'Vi on Kafe to decide whose run will continue just a little bit longer here at the 6th Invitational 2022 in Sweden. And the first bands come in. It's going to be Sledge. It's going to be Thatcher.
I like that. The Thatcher pretty much go to expected one here on Kafe. Lots of tight little corners where you've got to disable ADSs, mute jammers. I'm thinking mainly towards things like Pixel if you want to get control of Cigar. Lots of stuff to play behind that. The Sledge, also a really smart pick. It does mean we'll see a ton of Buck, and I do question, will we see the Hard Breach gadget coming out? Buck, of course, now having 2 of those in back pocket, but you need him really to be assaulting in towards the kitchen. I do wonder if that also means Kafe now becomes a higher priority pick for both teams. Tim, that is arguably the spiciest band pair we have had on the defender side all competition long. Wamai and Jaeger are gone. Aruni is the only anti-nade operator we've got left.
Bring throwables. Push site quickly, is what I'm going to say. Quite often, we don't see that happen.
Tim, don't shout too loud. They'll hear you and steal the idea.
Sorry, of course.
I love it. Round 1, DarkZero. Maverick, Finker, Iana, 6 nades, go.
I don't think they needed me to tell them to bring the nades there, to be honest. Jaeger Wamai, we see that ban occasionally as a pair, and I always think...
I've seen it probably once in my entire career of casting.
I've seen it once or twice. And I think not
You're paying more
necessarily
attention than me.
not necessarily when we've been casting. I mean, when I'm watching other games as well.
I see.
You know, we watch an awful lot of Siege as well as casting an awful lot of Siege. But when it's like that, I think get yourself to site quickly. You know, get those nades thrown in there whilst there's still bits of things being done. People are moving around for position. Just really hassle sight when it's like this.
Oh boy, oh boy. We thought we'd seen a lot of nade kills throughout the competition. Well, you're about to see even more. Let's get going with round number 1. Kitchen going to be where we are setting up. On the side of Na'Vi, bringing along the Bandit here to deny away those bakery walls. May also see the last 2 committed out towards Freezer. As we mentioned though, Tim, with nades galore here, you will be able to very comfortably roll one in through the Freezer drone hole. You'll be able to get control of the above site and open things up as well. It's going to look pretty peachy. The only real vertical destruction that DarkZero brought along here, mind you, is the 3 breaching charges. We spoke about this a little bit in, was it their game yesterday we spoke about this? I think it was their game, may have been another, where a team were bringing along tons of breaching charges only to end up going to the wrong site entirely and having 0 use for them. They had a bit of a tactical timeout, had a conversation. They reduced that down to just 3 breaching rounds. Didn't bring a sledge because he died early on and it paid the price. In fact, it was NIP. I've just remembered because Pino got caught out in the early round quite a few times. That was against TSM yesterday.
Doki's going to hold on to court check to begin with, try and prevent any ingress coming through the main door. Just look at, he knows that there's going to be a little bit of attention from that side because they've got secretly in VIP, so normally DarkZero, they're going to want to get hold of restaurant or bar and try to just pinch secretly out of there, get the kill and then free up VIP and they can look to push on towards Freezer.
Tim, they had like 4 drones left at 2 minutes 20. They have Na'Vi have chewed through DarkZero's drone count here. I'm not sure what's going on because you're relying on that information gain to know where to chuck these nades. So far, they're just starting entirely inside a bakery with the Maverick on side. The beauty is that you can essentially completely ignore those, or you can, of course, get above and yeet some nades down. Either choice works just fine. The easiest one might be to open a drone hole on the bakery wall, chuck a nade through, a drone hole, a nade hole, sorry, like they have done now, get it blown out, and sure enough, they can now look to press their way through. Saves with 2 of the Bandit batteries in back pocket, goes for the wrong wall here. Going to get the left one done back up again, but can't do anything about the other one. It's going to get opened up, and it will give DarkZero their first view into sight.
Saves holding quite an aggressive angle there. It's an interesting push from DarkZero here. Obviously, with the sledge off the board, there's no option or less option to open up the verticality easily. They've chosen not to bring the book, and instead they're just not working from above. They're allowing Na'Vi essentially to hold on to those vertical angles. Saves is going to take some damage, as does Hyper, but he juices himself up and the rest of his team with those nano bots on the Finker, and that's just going to bring them pretty much back to full health.
Na'Vi have read it well. They've only got 1 player on site here, and it is Saves facing up against an onslaught from the west side. If he dies, which he has now done, site is basically open. This is where they might get a read and say, right, we're going to go for it. We're going to step in. We're going to make some plays happen here. Doki does find one back the other side as the other players of Na'Vi now start to weasel their way back in towards site. Secretly here, darting in through Freezer, aware that a plant attempt may come in out towards the west just through that breach. But DarkZero have slowed things down. In fact, they even got up on the rappel here, are looking to move away entirely with only 30 seconds to play with. They've got no drones, Tim. They are playing completely blind.
I'm interested to see. I don't know if Na'Vi have... Yes, they have. I was just going to say Nath is playing up above. That was the point of fascination for me. Doki's trying to hold an angle down. Big jump out from Blur there. Manages to get himself one. Nath on the vertical, as I suggested, takes down Canadian. Long range effort. Miss there from Blur. That could be big as Pambazu finds the kill. 2v2, 5 seconds. It's all up to Nath above. He's not going to be able to get an angle onto that plant spot. It is not destructible above him, so he's going to have to drop Eclipse. Oh. He's successful. He's on the other side of the wall. We spoke about it earlier. They baited you in, and they baited Na'Vi in there. DarkZero able to get a plant, able to get around, and able to get themselves a great start on Kafe.
10 seconds ago, we saw him go and plant on Rice. I knew he was there, and I still got excited when the drop came through. I think it was the combo of the drop plus the yellow ping and the outline. I was like, oh, it can happen. But no, absolutely not. Good round from DarkZero. Na'Vi opting to go for that very spread out style. I think they assumed they were going to see a vertical take and just didn't want to play many people on site, lest those nades catch out 2, 3, 4 people all too easily. It's going to be another similar setup coming out from the side of DarkZero. The Maverick, the Finker and the Iana all in tow as we go towards Reading and Fireplace, and a potential change coming in from Canadian here, who's going to move across to playing on the Twitch instead. That's an interesting one.
It is indeed. As you said,
that magical word that casters always use, interesting.
Interesting. It's interesting, that one.
Beauty about the word is it can be negative.
Careful, Milosh will be in here.
With a book beating us round the head like BAM! Dictionary to the face.
Fascinating, Des.
It's fascinating. It's interesting. It's intriguing. Think of all these words we can chain together. Interesting can mean both good and bad, though, right? Like, that's what makes a great player. That's interesting how he's got away with that.
I don't really want to go in on this, but
exactly.
what are you doing?
It's like you avoid the topic by just saying it's interesting. So now you know the little caster rulebook that we have. You hear the word interesting, know that we're just trying to swerve a difficult conversation. Let's see how the setup looks on top floor. It's going to be very similar to what we've seen out of Na'Vi a number of times, where they normally bring shields, to be fair. Here they've only got the one for Nath, which without a... I can understand why. Without Wamai, without Jaeger, shields feel essentially pointless. Even a Gon 6 will clear them out, for example, very easily. So without many of those on side, they can't play on Pixel very comfortably. They can play in the bathroom, but it's going to require swinging out towards the players coming in on the piano side. DarkZero should get a read into this and hopefully clear through it pretty quickly.
I would expect so. DarkZero, they're going to have to go for the top floor clearance, whether they have Sledge or not. Last time around, we saw them just leave it alone because they obviously didn't want to bring the book and just didn't feel like the vertical pressure was that necessary, which, as it turned out, it wasn't. They were able to win the round without it. But this time, I don't think they'll have much of a choice because they've got Na'Vi in there with the verticals themselves, just looking to be able to hold on to site later on in the round. Doki, he's going to drop away pretty quickly there. He's going to get himself over the side of the balcony, down and underneath, look to pressure onto Red Hatch potentially, and Nath, he's just got the Yokai drone going ahead of him, secretly doing the work there, trying to put in
Robot
the
Wars
to find out exactly what's going on. We have a little back and forth between our drones there, and the Yokai remains intact for now.
Twitch versus Yokai is the real Robot Wars, let's be honest. A normal drone, inferior, can't do very much in that situation. Sadly, it wasn't Troy or Canadian there with those shock drones. There is now one creeping in, and they've got a second drone also inside a stage, just trying to make sure they can find out any gadgets that might be impeding their entry. We are about halfway into the round, though, and they haven't really got this top floor hold dealt with just yet. They have found Doki, which is a pretty critical one, because him being removed away from playing on side of site means they can move forwards thing a little bit quicker.
Eclipse gets our opener, and that is going to be Doki that gets taken down. It leaves us 5 versus 4. DarkZero can really start to pressure a little bit as they've got boots on the ground on top floor. Blur is up there alone. Saves is looking for a bit of a Hail Mary throw from the Nitro here. Not sure he's going to catch that one. Pamba manages to find Blur as well, and that is an unsuccessful Nitro toss as expected. It's always difficult up through the hatch and out of the window, and the Nomad just managing to avoid. 5 versus 3. Top floor control for DarkZero. Oh no, there's one left in there, just behind the castle barricade, secretly. Not for long. And JR shuts him down. How do they do it? Build that synergy, Des.
That was phenomenal. Oh, this hold inside the storage, I spoke about it a couple of times, and I forget which team I spoke about doing it the other day, but they'll also electrify the 2 panels facing out towards the piano side, and no one has bothered to break it open. This hasn't really been broken open and taken control of, but they have killed the player inside of there that was secretly. So, a small evolution and a step forward. It could have been TSM potentially. Either way, it's an absolute rollover for DarkZero. Nothing really to be said by Na'Vi. Not looking like a good start for them, to be honest with you, Tim. Only a couple of kills to their name so far across 2 rounds.
I'm worried for Na'Vi at this point. Realistically, DarkZero have come into this looking much the better of the 2 teams. They've continued where they left off from Oregon. They're getting kills. That was a flawless round. There's just nothing Na'Vi can do, and I don't know if the pressure's just getting to them a little bit. We saw Saves missing that drone inside of Reading. I know he was being pushed at the same time. He didn't have long to make the shot, but he just seemed in his movement a little bit frustrated with himself. He then turned to try and face up to the challenge and was just put down pretty easily, really. It wasn't much of a challenge, and it just looks like Na'Vi are a little bit off the pace here. Doki opening death as well. I don't know, Na'Vi, they've got to wake up quickly or they're going to lose this one before they know they're in it.
Absolutely. I mean, they've baited successfully here DarkZero into thinking they're attacking into the kitchen. They saw the setup looking basically as it did before, with the Bandit coming on side for secretly. I believe it was Saves who played it last time around. Then they've changed it away for a mirror at the last second and headed up to the top floor. Now, Tim, I always like to invite you at this point in time to share with us your rant, as you very rarely do, about this top floor.
2-0 down, Na'Vi. You've struggled on bar, you've struggled on reading, you've struggled on kitchen. I'm not sure that bar and cocktail is going to be the one for you. I see further struggles coming in.
Why is that then, Tim?
Because it's a difficult site for the defenders to hold on to. It's usually a 50% win rate at best. Sometimes it's lower.
The mirror. Hello? Did they punch that out on accident or something while trying to open the rotate?
I'm not 100% sure.
That is Demo is crying somewhere right now.
If it's been done purposefully.
It has not. It has not.
The thing is, there's absolutely no reason to do it purposefully, because it's not even like it makes it quicker to drop it or anything. Like, there's just no reason to.
Man.
I was trying to think of one for him. I'm trying to think, why am I... Nah.
If they shot it out outright and just wanted to use it for that purpose, okay, but you just wouldn't. It's such a powerful mirror to have. We just saw a nade come flying into the bathroom, actually assuming that someone might be there, so maybe Na'Vi have escaped a quick death by having that accidentally punched out.
Unless... The only thing I can think is that they don't want the line of sight from bathroom door should the attackers take that area to be able to view through, and they'd have to drop the mirror. Maybe that, and then it just gives Na'Vi the option to drop the mirror.
Do it with me. Both arms above your head. Go real high to the sky, because that's what I call a stretch.
Yes, it's the best I can think of. I'm just really trying for him. It's 5 versus 4. Doki's going to take the opening death once again. Really struggling to get into this. 1 and 3 so far. A couple of those coming on the entry, and Na'Vi on the back foot. DarkZero have got themselves established inside of red now. They're moving into piano. This is so far so good. Another drone missed from Na'Vi there. We commented how they were doing so well at taking the drones out. There's now 7 still left alive, and we keep seeing them have these opportunities and they're missing the shots. And I know that it's a small thing to criticise, but it all adds up.
It does. Doesn't do you any favours for sure. DarkZero looking a bit better here. The cigar side control now established. Blur is still hanging on the downstairs, mind you, so I'm not saying he can be the go-to difference maker. Doesn't have a C4 anymore, of course. It's impacts or bulletproofs coming out for Malusi, but he could hit them on the flank if not properly watched. Saves finds one back the other way, so it's not looking awful for Na'Vi. However, 4 versus 4 and 60 seconds to play, I'm still having quite a bit of favour towards DarkZero.
The Gemini decoy sent in through the skylight there, taken out immediately. Eclipse on a long angle, gets
Beautiful.
2 with a beauty onto Nath, giving them the advantage now. Secretly fighting from behind his mirror, using that utility, but Eclipse is able to start getting the diffuser down. Out goes a long nade, and it finds its mark. Canadian wraps it up, and DarkZero, they managed to find the 3rd in a row, and Na'Vi, they cannot buy a defense right now, Des.
With whose subscribers this time, Tim?
I mean,
you'd
have to be Doki, surely. Doki's the...
Or his subs, yeah, he does stream quite a lot.
He streams quite a lot.
Yeah, even with all Doki subscribers, can't buy a round. Can't buy many kills either, Tim. It's been very limited in the kills department so far for Na'Vi. And the end of that round for me really showed the problem with these bans, the Wamai and the Jaeger. Steps out for a C4 that surely would have won the round for Na'Vi because they deny away the plant. There's no one around an immediate vicinity to get the plant down after taking it off the dead man's body. But before the C4 can be pulled, there is a nade raining in. There are no ADSs. There are no magnets. It's beautiful stuff coming out from DarkZero. 3-0 on the attack so far. Still keeping that second part of their name present in this game. Down into kitchen we go again for a repeat of the 3 sites. And truthfully, Tim, I really kind of wish Na'Vi had taken a tactical timeout there. All 3 sites, they have been run absolutely ragged. They've got 5 kills to their name in total across 3 rounds. It's not looking good at all.
Like I said, it's not just about the scoreline here. It's about the way that Na'Vi feel to me when I'm watching them. Like I say, missing drones, not picking up the shot. It just feels like they just feel beaten at the minute. They need themselves around absolutely desperately, and it needs to come now. It's going to be kitchen. Interestingly, as I suggested on round 1, DarkZero chose not to bring the vertical destruction along. They just went direct to site. I don't think they're going to try that again, given that they've got Canadian on the book this time. So I think the intention will be our normal top-down clearance, get mid-floor, start opening up the ceiling a little bit.
You'd hope so. They've got the book for that exact purpose. Again, Na'Vi did successfully bait them in the last round to thinking they were attacking kitchen when, in fact, they weren't. Here, they actually are. So Canadian should be, I'm not saying he was useless last round, but more use in this round than he was in the prior. Before they get started with that, they've got to clear Doki off red stairs, though, and there is also Nath charging around red 90 right now that will also need to be removed.
Blur's going to just hide himself away up in Cocktail and try, as we said, to hold on. This is all about wasting time more than anything for Na'Vi here on the very top floor. It's not like you're defending Reading where you're really trying to keep hold of the map as much as you can, and that's why we can see there's only Blur there. He's got the hatch open, he can drop away, he's just looking to see if at some point he gets misdroned, he can pick up a cheap kill. He doesn't, off he goes. He was just chance in his arm there. He was rolling the dice, see what he could get away with. Nath gets a freebie onto NJR. That's what they needed. He's very lucky to get away down White Stairs as well. Hyper was just looking over the balcony there, wasn't able to react quick enough, and that is a bit of a steal for Na'Vi.
Just a little bit, but it's the right play as well. You know, sit in a spot, get droned out, kill the drone, move. It's a go-to tack that everyone should be using, even in your ranked games. Keeping themselves alive and finding an opener, though, is the dream start in this round. DarkZero can now start looking towards this vertical setup. They've still got the book on side, so it's not like they are restricted in terms of vertical options, but they're still just making sure everything is clear before they start getting set up for the execute.
4 versus 5 for DarkZero. Lots of work for them to do, as you say. Clear, execute. That is the next steps of the plan, but there's kills that need to come along with it as well. The air jab's just going out to prevent any flanks. Nitro will detonate and nearly find Eclipse. No, sorry, it wasn't a Nitro. It was his soft breach charge. That's quite fine then. I won't panic anymore. And he's going to just have a look down. There's the Nitro, Des. I knew that there was one in hand, and that's why I'd expected it. It's going to find Canadian. Nath with a big kill there. 5v3, and they needed somebody to step up and have the round that he has had. Kills going either direction. It's going to be another for Nath. That's 3 on the round. The shotgun. Hyper, how do you not get that? He had the side of the man to aim at, and somehow secretly gets the opportunity to turn on him with the shotgun and puts him straight down. It's all up to Pamba, 1v4.
Left alone entirely here on Brown Stairs, put down to about 10 HP as well. Secretly holding with the shotgun, daring him to come on the push, but I guarantee you there's going to be a couple of swings coming in here as we get towards the tail end of this round. It saves to collect the kill. Na'Vi finally get themselves on the board, Tim, but the question everyone will ask, is it too little, too late?
Still some very serious faces there in the Na'Vi camp, and it's no surprise, that's not a criticism. We're in the 6th Invitational 2022, and they're 3-1 down on the 3rd map. Lose this one, and they will go home. NJR, he's had a good game so far. He just seemed to rush in there. I don't think he maybe had the information ahead of him, and maybe a misdrawn there that didn't pick the man up, but it was a freebie for Nath either way. Round number 5, we're looking at loading into, and it's going to be that top floor again that Na'Vi try for. They've decided that reading was not for them. They've locked down kitchen. Now they think they can get the top.
Okay, the floor is being picked in by Canadian as well. A couple of rounds of having a bash with the book. Doesn't quite deliver the goods. So going back to Old Faithful in the Flores with those 4 Roteros on side. Mainly looking, I imagine, in towards getting rid of those shields. Now, there's a world where you'd argue with the Jaeger and the Wamai band away, it should be harder for Flores to be able to operate. Because without Jaeger and Wamai and a lot of setups or operator lineups, you then start missing one of those 2 ops that most teams will bring. You could see a mute slot inside there. You could even put a Mozzie into that spare spot. So, I would have imagined it would be harder, but Na'Vi don't have anything of the sort. Instead, leaning in towards the operators they've got here on the right side. Smoke, Mira, Falk, Lucy, and the Kaid. A couple of C4s in back pocket could do some good work for them, as well as a lot of information. They play with the Valkyrie, they play with the Mirror, they play with the Bulletproofs a good few rounds now. So still sticking down on that strategy, but could very quickly be torn apart by those Flores drones.
Absolutely.
Don't punch it. Don't punch the play.
I mean, if they do it again, there's a reason for it.
Trust me, Tim, there was no reason for it. If there is one, it's not a good one.
If it is one, I'll be asking what it is. That much is for sure, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it was accidental. We're going to have the rotation opened up next to the mirror window, which will allow movement through there and down the balcony if needs be. Pretty standard for Na'Vi here. Blur, he's going to have... He's deployed. I was going to say he's got a bulletproof camera, but it's been deployed, so that's quite all right. Sometimes we do see those getting forgotten and just get left in pocket, and it makes me wonder sometimes. DarkZero up on the rooftop, moving along quickly, getting the hatches open, looking for the red drop. They're going to have the Rotero drones going in, clear out some utility. See the little hop there just to try and make sure it's safe, and that's going to blow out the counter to begin with.
From the skylight as well, it'd be quite hard to challenge directly onto because you don't want to expose yourself to that lest someone swings you inside from, well, Cigar. You got Blur who's holding just inside of the shop, well, not in the shop, he's just below shop actually. I'm a liar. Just daring someone here to get a little bit too confident, step out into red and catch him out with an absolute freebie. Of course, again, not playing an operator with a C4 in back pockets, I can't do too much damage down there, but enough that with an impact above from maybe Doki, for example, he could just go spraying through the floor.
See the shield cleared out in bar back storage. I think that was one of Hyper's nades. The aerodrome was taken out by the man behind the mirror, which is Doki in this case, trying to hold on to Washroom. This is better from Na'Vi here. They feel a little bit more secure, although that is big, having that taken out, and then secretly goes with it. Another nade kill for NJR. He's been absolutely lethal with the explosives. Eclipse is in. He's getting the diffuser down. Nath is in a position to challenge. Doki is then ultimately who manages to find the kill after he's been moved away. Diffuser down cold, but DarkZero likely to not take too much of an opportunity to get this down again. They move in front of the bar this time. Start to go for it again, 3v3.
Na'Vi are on the south side here as well. The rush comes through. They try and spray through the smoke, and they do find the man, but diffuser has been completed. Saves Doki in a post plant here against Canadian and NJR. NJR's on a tear. He's at 8-2, make it 8-3. As a 1v1, it's Canadian coming up against Saves. Saves does have one more smoke canister. He's going to drop it out, but Canadian, he hasn't got to do much. He can just step inside and go for a spray. Can't quite find the man as he can't see him. Saves going to try once again. I was going to say the Rotero might not be the play here, unfortunately. Comes off again. They're just baiting it back and forth here, Tim. And now that smoke has expired, he can try and stick. Saves playing it quite smart and not getting himself killed, but Canadian has just got too big an advantage here. I don't see a world in which he wins. Finds the shutdown, and DZ finds another round.
It was all a little bit tense there for a second as Canadian knew that he had to sort of keep challenging to keep the smoke away from the diffuser, but you just could see the potential there for that little headshot to come out and for him to lose the round. But no, Canadian plays it like a pro, nice and experienced, and he makes every right decision there to hold on to things and close out the round. 4-1 now, DZ, and those North American fans, they must be very happy with what they're seeing.
We've seen a couple of 5-1 halves on Kafe Attack over the last week though, Tim. It's what makes me nervous about getting too excited, and I've said it all week long. Don't judge a book by its cover. Wait until you see the second half, because chances are things will turn around on the other side. I know we didn't really see that on Bank. It's kind of one of those anomalies that are going to show up from time to time where a team does just completely run away with the map due to sheer momentum and how awake they are on the day when it comes to the gun skill. But for Na'Vi, it's looking rocky. They really need a win here. Otherwise, at 5-1, it's looking dicey.
It could be. As you say, it's going to be a big one for them to turn around in that second half. Na'Vi 1-4 and right now struggling. They've only won down on Kitchen, losing a lot of gunfights, struggling to get themselves into this one. It was unfortunate for them in the last round. They were able to have Nath disrupt the plant from underneath. It was nice team play then for Doki to finish the kill. They fought the way back into it, but ultimately DarkZero again just one step ahead and were able to close it out.
Here's that hole once again coming inside of storage that I keep on talking about, by the way. I mentioned it in that TSM versus NIP game. TSM were one of the first ones I saw do it. Here it's looking like a very similar one once more. The only difference being currently they haven't reinforced off the two walls into storage from bathroom, which they're now going to do. So yeah, things are looking as they did before. The player inside of there is very well protected, by the way. They've got a mute jammer on the west facing wall. They've got the castle barricade too. There's only really two ways in and out of there. The one is through the bar door. The other is out through the rotate to the right hand side. The one that makes me a little bit nervous is the rotate is on the near side. So from the skylight, you will see the player trying to rotate through. A very easy catch of Canadians up on that roof once again. So when we see someone playing inside of there, they've got to be very, very careful. And I think it is Doki on the castle inside of here, I want to say.
It's a tough choice, because if you do it the other way around, obviously you leave the line of sight from the window, which is castle barricaded, but still, that's easily cleared off, and then you've got a line, you just can't play inside of there because you're just going to have somebody peeking you constantly. So it's a tough choice, but Na'Vi deciding to go for it that way around. They'll play the man out of freezer for the time being. Nath is getting aggressive here on pixel spot, really. You don't always see so much of a high line, but I like it. Try and take it to them. Don't let DarkZero get themselves established in the building. Nath's going to drop back now, leaving Blur on Cocktail not quite all alone, because there's still the man, I think, inside a freezer, but...
no, he's just dropped. He's just legged it. Literally just 3 seconds ago.
Blur deciding it's time to try and make something happen then. He's not going to shoot out the drone. They don't expect it, but they do react to it. Hyper manages to find Blur, and DarkZero one step towards a 5-1 half.
Yeah, I think once that armor panel came off and secretly kind of realised he was under pressure there, he moved to Yoke Yokai downstairs. You know, Yokai drones for 4 people, apparently. Got that on the downstairs and then hightailed it out himself across the cocktail and down through the hatch. Knew the pressure was starting to build, and it was a key focus point of DarkZero. Good so far from Na'Vi, though. They are burning through a lot of the clock, Tim. We're down towards that last 60 seconds at this point, and now they've got the vertical control. Great. Now you've got to decide what to do with it. When are they going to pull the trigger? Because Nath is still trying to waste time with the smoke canisters going at white. As Hyper comes in for a bit of a swing, wants to find the man and shut him out, but Nath, he's holding so tight with the shotgun, Tim.
He is, and he's going to continue to hold. There's no way he aggresses onto this. Saves manages to find one with a nitro onto NJR, and that is a big, big kill there. Leveling things up at 4-4, and with 35 seconds left to go, Nath, he's just going to keep himself locked in this position to prevent any push coming down white. DarkZero, they're going to really have to use this verticality to the best of their ability. And it looks like Eclipse, he's going to drop down there and look to stack up on reading door for the plant, but he's going to need some cover because there's still 4 defenders left alive. That's exactly what Hyper's trying to do. In he goes. I'm not sure there's anybody above in a position just yet to cover, but Pamba, Hyper, they find 2, and Lever's now in a 2 versus 4. Hyper moves in for the aggressive cover, stood on top of the planter there, and it goes down successfully. It's all up to saves. There's 1v4. We've seen him do 1v3 before, but I just don't have a good feeling about this one. He's in the centre of sight. He's 1 above. They're in every direction. It takes the first peek from Pamba to shut him down, and DarkZero go 5-1 now.
It's not looking good, Tim.
It's NA's day.
It's NA's day. It's not an EU day. Eminem out. Na'Vi on the verge of being out, and they call in a tactical timeout. It may be DarkZero calling it in here, to be fair, as well. Going on to the defensive side, we'll see in just a second. But either way you look at it, this timeout really for Na'Vi should have come in sooner. I think at that 3-0 point, when you're already getting absolutely slammed, you need that time to have a conversation. It's coming in from Na'Vi. In case you're wondering why I'd say DarkZero would take it, you know, I think I was liking about this before. They were 4-4 up. They went to 5-4 on the attack and were winning clearly in good spirits, and they called a timeout. And I messaged him after and asked him, I was like, why did you guys take the timeout there? You're in a winning position. Things are going well. Why? And he said, well, there was one thing I saw in our attacks on a couple of rounds prior that I wanted to correct. You know, the guys were in good spirits, but getting a little bit too amped up there, getting a bit overexcited, had to kind of bring it back down. We joked about this a bit yesterday on the B stream as well. Fresh and Friends Academy been giving us some little... Whoa. That was a big scream on the B stream. But said to us back then, you know, again, we want you in the middle. We don't want you too high. We don't want you too low. We just need you to be in the middle when it comes to your energy. And that's what Lycan was trying to bring back down to earth a little bit.
Feels a little bit low for Na'Vi right now, if I look across there. And it's no surprise they're 2 rounds away from leaving the 6 Invitational 2022, something you work towards for the entire year. Every team, all 20 of them, come in here hoping to take away the big prize, hoping to lift the hammer. It is the pinnacle of any Siege player's career, but there's only one that will be successful. We've already lost last year's champion, Des. If SSG go as well, then we will have a brand new organisation win this one.
Little update on what's going on in the B stream. Rogar up 4-3 on the last map. It is tight. Sounds like a real screamer over there. A barn burner, as we call it, Tim. Here, although it is map 3, it feels far from a barn burner. Interesting pick coming out from Bamba, by the way. Can't think of the last time I saw a Doc, to be honest. We saw Rook a couple of times last week. Teams obviously favouring that plus 20 HP that Rook now gives, rather than trying to deal with the mental mathematics you've got to do to try and deal with a K while he takes 89% damage reduction, whatever it might turn out to be, or 89% of the full damage. 89% damage reduction would be absolutely mental. The Doc here at least going to be able to juice some people up across the team. So we'll see exactly what the use case is intended for that. I think back to the olden days of like Consulate, where you'd have, for example, a Clash on yellow stairs. You'd have a Doc sat inside a bathroom just juicing the Clash up as nades started to rain down. I'm wondering here if it's more of a selfish pick or if the intent is to help keep someone alive from nades.
I quite like a roaming Doc. It's not something we've seen for a long time, but just get Doc out in the map. He's really self-sufficient. If he takes
he's really noisy and slow.
He's noisy and slow, but if you can play it right and you get into gunfights, you win a gunfight, you're at 50 health, you juice yourself back up, you just start again, you just reset and off you go again and try and find another gunfight. And we've certainly seen it used a good while ago now. It's not something
I don't know.
very often. Like you say, he's inside. The thing is, it's not a bad spot for him here either. Inside a washroom. If he takes chip damage from grenades, if there's utility raining in towards him, he can keep himself in that position for as long as possible.
I think with Thunderbird in the game these days, Doc is largely irrelevant, unfortunately. Maybe a buff at some point, an extra stim, although it sounds crazy. given one that maybe juices up teammates more than yourself. Loads of ideas you can give towards that, I'm sure. But there is a reason why Thunderbird, it does have a higher pick rate at this point than the Doc does, because obviously
it's automatic as well.
It's automatic, it impacts more spots, it's got infinite number of charges, there's just so much more that Thunderbird has going, plus also has a C4. Doc has got barbed wire. Just again, loads working in Thunderbird's favour.
We'll see whether Pambazoo can put the Doc to DarkZero's favour in this round or not. Doki took a fraction of damage there as he took a bullet from way across in Cocktail. But Na'Vi not going badly. Halfway mark, they've got themselves established inside of Piano. And there's a potential here for Saves to burst in through the Cocktail window. He's got the Gun 6 in hand. He's sort of ready to go to take Hyper's attention here as Hyper continues to pepper shots in towards Cigar and Piano to make life difficult. Look at him swinging wide there to try and get the angle to prevent those Hibana pellets coming on, but I don't think he's going to do that again now that it's been opened up. But the jump out is there. NJR gets one, immediately traded by Nath, but Hyper finds Doki on one of those long angles as well. It's 4 versus 3 for DarkZero now.
With the cover inside of storage, so they can remove those X-Kairos so easily. Think back to the play yesterday we saw from Lender when they were trying to combo together, getting that wall opened up. At the exact same time they turn around to spray those X-Kairos off the wall, they swing in Piano and get the kill. It was really smart play from Lender and very aggressive coming out of Furia, reminding you the winner of this game has to face up against them later on. It's not going to be the easiest game in the world, but surely right now DarkZero are looking to be the team that make it. It's down to a 3 versus 3 as Nath finds his double in the round, really starting to switch on here on this map. 7 and 5 overall, it's looking good, but they need to really dig deep here, Tim, and find more.
Clips is just waiting for his opportunity from underneath here to let that Nitro go, and he's going to be a nuisance when he does. Hyper just trying to make his challenge without moving too far. Pamba finds Blur, 3v2, Nitro goes out, perfectly played from Eclipse, and then Hyper mops it up. 1 kill each, and DarkZero find themselves on map point, on match point, and on the verge of being the team to continue into the next round of the lower bracket.
Still very muted, mind you. It's interesting when I think about it because, you know, Canadian we know is a very noisy player anyway. We know that he likes to be all gassed up, and we saw, for example, Sonics yesterday. They were super gassed during their game. Both teams in this game, it's really weird, a bit muted compared to what we hear going on between Elevate and Rogue. Na'Vi, understandably, DarkZero you thought might be more excited. At 6-1, maybe they're not so happy with how their performance went back on Bank and know there is a lot of work to be done. They've been serious from start to finish, but as long as you get the job done, it doesn't matter so much what that energy is like as long as the numbers roll in.
Exactly that. You know, it's like you say, whether you get it done with screaming, laughing, crying, you know, whatever it might be.
Can you just imagine?
I'm yet to see a team win whilst crying, but, you know, however, like you say, however you manage that energy and those emotions within the team, it's whatever works on the day. And if right now DarkZero feel like they need to be focused, then
could you imagine Hyper just being like, I didn't get a 4K, it was only 3. Kill. It's not enough for my stats. Imagine.
Round number 8 we go into. DarkZero absolutely running away with this one, and a lot of North American fans going to be very, very happy to see them on top here after a good performance against TSM. They may be starting to send a little bit of a message. This is the point, Des, where you start thinking, can they do this? Can they make a run at this? I think there's still questions to be asked of DarkZero, and they've got a tough opponent coming up in the next round, but they are looking better as time goes on.
This is that meme where, you know, the 2 kids in the pool and the mom's like playing with the little one and the little kid's off to the side drowning. The kid being raised is the Sonics. DarkZero are the one drowning down towards the south because realistically, no one really harbours much hope for DarkZero. It sounds sad to say, but I think it's true. Based on some of their performances during group stage, they were very on and off, and they even won one of those series on the first couple of days. But everyone was like, are they okay? Like, what's up with their play? They look really shaky, whereas Sonics have really ramped into the competition. DarkZero, I think, have still got a point to prove, and a point they've now got to prove in the losers bracket. Obviously, they're still working their way through this lower bracket. Na'Vi are just one speed bump on that journey towards a potential top 8 finish. I mean, top 8 is still fantastic. Top 4 would be a dream for this team.
Yeah, I think at that point, you know, everything beyond is a bonus, isn't it? It's, you know, if you do get more, if you get that final, if you get anything else out of it, then you've overachieved at that point. But DarkZero quietly going about their business, and sometimes those are the teams to watch. Like you say, you know, everybody focusing over here, but it might be DarkZero that you should be looking at. Out goes the Nitro unsuccessfully. Doki just managing to turn away. Takes a lick of damage, but not too much.
Loses an arm.
Loses an arm. Not a myth, just a flesh wound, just a scratch, Des.
It's just a flesh wound. Oh, cheeky! Getting the down onto Doki on the other side. Blur does find Pamba first at the very least, keeping his teammate alive, at least for now. Down, but not out. Eclipse, one back the other way. Technically a 4 versus 3 here, at least temporarily. Eclipse could be in big with potential on the downstairs, looking to do a bit of damage with that C4, but no one is near the wall. They stepped away. Doki back on his feet. Both of those frag grenades retained as Na'Vi start looking towards how they press forwards here. They've got bar. They can start working in towards White Tim, but the problem is, this ain't the site. Let's remember, we're downstairs in Reading and Fireplace. It's all good getting top floor control, but they're not looking in great shape doing it.
That's it. There's a lot of time and effort been burnt here with only 50 seconds left to go. They need to start finding some kills. It's going to be difficult to get a plant down as it stands because DarkZero are pretty comfortable inside a site. There's still a bulletproof camera up, I think, possibly. It's feeding information back in as well. And
okay.
That's something that Na'Vi need to be thinking about because it's
time.
They've got Pambazoo dead. He can just sit on those cams if they feel like they need that information from top floor. There we go, finally. But as he goes to do it, Eclipse, he's going to take the nitro, nicely baited in. Doki from beyond the grave after being picked up finds a hyper with a nade, and it is now 3 versus 2. It's looking like DarkZero, Des, but Na'Vi, they're clinging on. It's 2v2, 2v1 as Saves goes on one of his marches again and gets a big 3k to keep Na'Vi fighting.
Man, Saves does it again. 3rd time this series, I think, where he's pulled out a 1v3. He's won out in a 2 versus 2 with his other teammate planting and keeps Na'Vi going with a big 3k to close things out. It does kind of feel like you're delaying the inevitable. They've still got 4 rounds in a row to win to go to overtime, let alone even think about winning the match. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't keep on relying on big hero plays, but in that moment, that's exactly what they needed because otherwise that round was fast falling away from them. Fireplace and Mining is where we're going to head into next.
Can DarkZero bring anything different? That is the question. It's going to be very similar to how they defended the last site. It's going to be about trying to keep Na'Vi out of Piano, trying to keep hold of top floor for a while, not lose too much doing it. And Na'Vi had a good attack across there this time around. There was a moment there where you thought it was heading in DarkZero's direction, particularly after that nitro from Eclipse. You just think, if you're going to get that sort of play going on whereby you've got the nitro underneath a bulletproof ready to go when somebody comes up to it, you know, at that point you probably deserve the round, but Na'Vi, they weren't interested in deserved, they weren't interested in fair. Saves just went in, slayed everybody and claimed it for their own. So we don't see this site too often, Des. It's not a common one for us. It's usually the off site, if you will. We see it every now and again, but like I said, we're going to have Na'Vi trying to get top floor control, trying to work down from Piano and soften things up from there.
Absolutely. This site has the highest defender win rate of any of the 4 sites here on Kafe. In case you were curious, up until maybe yesterday, top floor and Reading and Fireplace were both dead equal at 51%. Downstairs and kitchen was about 45%, and I think Mining and Fireplace was just pushing into the 60s at about 62% or so. So if you're going by numbers, if you like your stats, there's your number for this round. Highest defender win rate site, DarkZero on defense with a big advantage in the game. All odds point towards Na'Vi not being able to keep this one going, but if they can break this site, Tim, suddenly you start to get a bit excited. It's 6-3, 3 more sites to rotate through, and overtime could be on the way.
Well, you start believing at that point, don't you? It starts creeping in. You think, you know, this is possible. But the thing is, Des, it's not just our minds that it creeps into. It's the minds of DarkZero as well. As you say, the energy a little bit lower than we might have expected from some previous performances. They're very focused here, and they're very serious about getting the job done. And as soon as Na'Vi feel like they're coming back into this, that may well have an impact. If they're so hyper-focused, they will feel it twice as hard. Canadian underneath with the nitro. He knows there's going to be attention paid towards Piano in from red stairs, which is exactly where Na'Vi are working at the minute, but he hasn't chosen to let go of that explosive just yet. He's just biding his time, waiting for his moment, but it's going to be Pamba. Pamba goes down as Blur finds his moment. That's a headshot to open things up, but NJR, they're on the trade, 4 versus 4.
Okay. A little bit dicey to start things off with losing the man. Blur, the one falling down, hardly the biggest fragger in this game, but still a key man to lose nonetheless. You do lose all 3 of those breaching charges, and coming into this vertical where you don't have a sledge on side, it can be a bit of a stinger. They've got Nath on the book, but now he is their sole focus. He needs to stay alive to give them these vertical angles, to force these defenders away. They've got the control they're looking for. There are no C4s left on the side of DarkZero, so things are looking up for Na'Vi as we get towards that last 60 seconds.
Eclipse just searching for those reverse vertical angles. He knows that Na'Vi have got control. He knows that they're all up there somewhere. Nath playing on top of the bar to try and avoid any further explosives that might come out. There are none left, so he doesn't necessarily need to worry about it, but just being cautious, doesn't want to be giving anything away. Dorky starts to get aggressive on white stairs here, looking directly in towards site. He'll take down the Banshee. 35 seconds, here come Na'Vi. Saves it is again to come in the late round and have an impact, finding the opener there onto NJR, and that now leaves us 4 versus 3. Eclipse holding from inside of the train though. He's just waiting. He's got 2 walls that he can see through. In comes there it is, the shot we all wanted to see. Eclipse one tap onto Dorky, gets another onto Secretly, Diffuser down cold, and here come DarkZero looking to propel themselves. 9 seconds left to go. Surely saves, can't do it again. It's effectively a 1 versus 2. DarkZero are just running away at this point. They know that there's nothing more that they need to do, and that is the round for DarkZero. That is the North American side continuing, and they go quietly about their business here at the 6th Invitational and proceed in the lower bracket.
Very muted response overall, but a strong win. 7-2 coming in on Kafe. We saw a full swing across this series when you think about it, Tim. The 7-2 start on bank for Na'Vi swings all the way back through to a 7-2 on Kafe for DarkZero. All aboard the Eclipse hype train, by the way. Big plays from Train there on the long angle. You'll be taking that one into ranked a few times, I'm sure. Absolutely beautiful performance, and they move on to face off against Furia.
And what a matchup I think that's going to be. DarkZero, I think they need to kick it up a gear against Furia. Na'Vi were very, very muted on that last map of Kafe there. It felt like, I said coming into it, it feels a bit like after the first round or 2 that they were already beaten. It felt like the game was in their head. I could be wrong, but it just seemed like it was from the way they were playing. They were playing a little bit scared, missing a few shots. They're not going to get that out of Furia at DarkZero, because Furia, as I've said, don't know when they're beaten. They'll keep fighting to the absolute last round, so just need to take it up a notch now.
That's exactly it. I mean, at that point, you're in the last state of the competition. You need to take it up a gear, like 100%.
Yep.
If you're going to beat Furia, as we saw TSM do, you've really got to be on the ball on the day. Regardless, big performance from DZ overall.
Absolutely.
NJR, lights out day, I think, overall. Really strong performance across those 3 maps, and looking just sharp. I liked overall what I saw from them.
Yep, Hyper very good as well, deserves to mention. Had some big plays, 2Ks, 3Ks over and over again to propel DarkZero through sometimes sticky patches in rounds. It was great. I'm impressed with them. I think they could now be quietly moving their way towards a very good finish here.
Well, you'll have to wait and see, because Furia await them later on today in Game 4. That will be on this stream around about 7 o'clock CET, I think, Tim, after we get through our next series. But that's us all done and dusted with this series here now. We'll bounce off to a break, and when we come back, the desk will break it down for you. Catch you guys later on.